So a lot of these real estate projects are just done to launder money, but also they just remain empty because they're too expensive for most people to buy. And also it has the knock-on effect of just raising the prices everywhere in this country. And also you have the combination under capitalism of a lot of people who make the laws are also landlords themselves. So there are no laws against things like owning loads and loads of property. There are no rent controls in places like London. You can just jack up the rent however you want, basically. And I'm pretty sure that's probably the same in places like Hong Kong and New York, although there are often a lot of laws that do, in theory, say they cannot do a certain thing. We all know the power lies with the landlords for the most part, and we all know a lot of tenants can't be bothered with the hassle of going to court and potentially being evicted or doing that while not having a place to stay. And most of the time when you're kicked out in this current economy, the next place you're going to stay in, if you want somewhere in a similar size, is going to be even more expensive than what you were paying for, even with the increased rent. So I'm not surprised Hong Kong is suffering from this problem. It just seems to be like a bleak combination of factors that have pushed so many people into things like coffin homes. Now, this article does have a lot of like personal stories of different people who live in these coffin homes. I don't want to read all of them, so I'll link the article, but I do want to read one of them. So someone called the janitor. So one particularly hot afternoon, I escaped to the open air hallway just outside the door to the apartment. That's where I met the janitor, smoking a cigarette where he leans against the railing overlooking a grimy back alley. The janitor can barely remember a time before living in Lucky House. He managed to move out a few times. One job provided dormitory housing, but he was forced to return when he injured his leg and could no longer work. I'm injured and I have a lot of health problems, so I can't work anymore, but I'm too old anyway, he tells me. Along with exactly how long he has lived at Lucky House, the janitor can also cannot remember his precise age, saying that he's over 60. He walks with a cane now, and his smoking habit means he's unable to travel far from his oxygen concentrator, which sits just outside his coffin with a thin plastic tube snaking into a crack in the plywood door. He rarely has a need to travel far. His relatives are all dead, and he has no one to visit, but he attempts to keep himself busy closer to home. The janitor and I share a wall, a thin half-inch piece of plywood, painted mustard yellow that does little to block the sound of the films he watches on his DVD player, and his frequent coughing. So that is one sad story, which I'm sure you can find throughout Hong Kong. As I'm sure you can find stuff like that throughout the world in people who live in these terrible conditions, thanks to a system of economics that makes housing a commodity above all else rather than a human right. So someone like this who is sick and old should be retired, should be in public housing, should be able to live the rest of his life with dignity. He's forced to sleep in a tiny bed in cramped conditions, just basically like waiting to die. Is that what we want for the human race? We want this shit to happen so property tycoons can make even more money from just extorting people for rent. Thing is, with coffin homes, it's an extreme thing, of course, but we can all relate to those problems, or we can all relate to knowing someone like this janitor person. We all know how much the economic system puts a strain on us to make enough money just to live, right? Just to have a basic housing, basic food, basic essentials like water and electricity. And again, there are people who defend this system despite the fact that only like 1% benefit from it, where the rest of us all have to just destroy ourselves for capital to varying extents. And you could be one of the probably billions of people who have a life similar to this. And when you have people living on top of each other like this, of course, like with favelas in Brazil, or like with Kowloon in the past in Hong Kong, people just start to self-regulate and build their own communities because the state has completely failed them. Now, Kowloon was an interesting case in that because of the various different governments of Hong Kong and disputed territory with the British and the Chinese, it just was somewhere caught in the middle that constantly just ignored rules and constantly had plans for demolition or different governments' control and just somehow like skipped them. But this is what happened to it eventually. In the subsequent decades, the population of the walled city boomed, but so did concerns and conflicts within the community. Without most of the rules, regulations, and services and infrastructures that maintain the day-to-day activities in the vast majority of cities, In the chaos of Kowloon, there were no taxes and business and sanitation standards, not to mention the lack of licensed healthcare providers and police. Soon, the traditional triad gangs found footholds in the walled city, which became a centerpiece for the Hong Kong narcotics trade. Prostitution flourished and unlicensed doctors and dentists proliferated, as did restaurants and food stalls, shops and family factories. The city's water and power supplies were inadequate and unsafe, and in the late 1980s, the community was served by only one postman and 2 elevators. The latter was problematic considering that the city had grown vertically, stacking tiny living spaces on top of each other. Conditions continued to deteriorate, and eventually in 1987, residents and business owners were quietly compensated to leave the walled city to a total tune of $2.76 billion by the Hong Kong authorities. By the end of 1991, only a few hundred residents remained, and riot police forcibly evicted anyone who refused to leave, with a wrecking ball beginning the destruction in 1993. So although people like William Gibson obviously thought of this as cool, and it is very interesting to people, I'll admit that is an interesting thing to think of, because especially in urban environments, we're so controlled by the state. The UK is obviously famous for having like the most CCTV cameras anywhere in the world. If you go up London, of course, in any capital city, Hanoi as well, you feel the state's presence, you see the police, you see, you know, a lot of law enforcement just going around. And the thought of going to somewhere in London and living somewhere which doesn't adhere to the rules of society, I can see how that might be attractive to people and how people might grow to like that. But as I said with my own experience living in a quite cramped conditions, it's just so unsafe, and Kowloon did become like really unsafe. Of course, you know, a hotbed for organized crime as well. But that's where this eventually leads you, because what are these people meant to do? You can't rely on the state, so you have to rely on each other, and you're just gonna find somewhere to build a home and build it. And again, that's what happened with the favelas starting in the 1960s in Brazil, and it's a very similar thing to the Kowloon walled city, and this is what it breeds. And although you can see the positive sides with the sense of community, at the end of the day, just leaving people to fend for themselves when you have a responsibility as a government to care for them is not the desired outcome of living in any society. But under capitalism, favelas and walled cities are tolerated. Now, we're talking about Brazil, we're talking about Hong Kong. Could this ever happen in the West? Now, like I said, there are certain like estates and tower block communities which do have some of that feel, but at the same time, these houses are still kind of used for their intended purpose, in that it's mainly, you know, the apartment still functions as it was designed to, like one family for one apartment, right? But I saw this video the other day, and I couldn't really believe it, to be honest. And it was on a channel, and I hope he lets me use this so I can show you some of it, called Eric Van Conover. Don't know anything about him, but it was called Living in a Tiny Apartment for like $600 in New York. And again, New York is worse than Hong Kong apparently for a lot of this stuff. So I just want to show you a tiny bit.
So this is the cheapest apartment in all of Manhattan.
Welcome to my walk-in closet. To the walk-in closet.
Everyone's seen the video before, and to see it, it's smaller in real life than on the video.
So I have the couch all the way to the wall. You can maximize as much living room space as possible.
Living room couch actually turns into a bed, so you technically could have friends from out of town visit you if you wanted to, and you still have enough room to even open the refrigerator with the bed down.
Do you cook here?
Not a lot, but anytime I do, I have to store all plates and everything underneath here.
So across we have 82 inches.
110.
110?
That's literally a parking spot.
I was curious the ceiling height, because in the video I saw, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty low, but it's not that low. 6'8" ceiling height down here. This is a lot smaller than I thought it was. 1 foot 10 inches of head clearance up here.
Talk about the water leaking. The ceiling literally was caving in up here.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, I guess there's so much rain. So I had to call the maintenance guy, and I actually used tape all night, and I taped this little hole right here. And I woke up because water was dripping on me.
$650 per month times 12, so that's $7,800 per year just for this place.
Yes.
So watching that, could I live in that apartment for like a month? I think I could. I've lived in a couple small studio apartments with my girlfriend for a month each, and you know, we found it fine, right? But that really only works if you're pretty minimalistic, as I was when I was traveling, and don't have many possessions. But even then, it can still get to you being in that small space, and that bed especially. Not liking that at all, as being that close to the ceiling. But again, that is $650 a month. America geographically is a bit luckier in that, unlike a place like London, most of the jobs are probably not in New York. I'm sure like a lot of them are, but because you have a fair few like massive cities, not everyone has to go live in like these tiny apartments in New York because that's where the work is and you can't afford anything else. But in countries where you do have that like north-south divide, like London, or you have that south-north divide, like Italy, for example, where most of the poverty is in the south, so people move like north, kind of happens in Spain as well, then you have people increasingly moving to just a few locations just to find work. And that is a very common thing that happens in the UK with people who get out of university, like where are all the jobs? They are making an effort to make places like Manchester more of a hub for these types of career jobs, but it has always been London, and London's population has just kept increasing throughout my lifetime, and with that as well, loads more people coming here, no rent control while wages stagnate, so you increasingly having people spending so much more of their income just on a place to live, and they know if you leave or have a problem with it, there will be someone who will pay that money. And in other videos you've probably seen increasingly in London, there's been people just selling out closets as like a bedroom and charging like £1,000 a month, right? And it's just insane to any normal person that this should be allowed, this should be legal, and landlords should be able to get away with this. But in a capitalist system, the interest of capital will always trump the interest of just your average human being. So because so many people in the government are landlords, what is the incentive to say to people, you can't own more than 2 properties. You cannot increase your rent by, I don't know, more than 1% per year or something like that. Where are these laws? New Labour National Socialist government, where are these laws for us? Oh wait, you don't care about this either. So although we aren't at Hong Kong levels yet, London could one day be like Hong Kong, especially considering how much this country has suffered under Tory austerity. So these small homes have always existed, but if you type in coffin homes and type in random countries, you'll see it's becoming an increasing trend, and across the Western world, just rent is going insane for most people, and homes qualities are deteriorating, and the state is increasingly not providing public housing. And that's another big thing in the UK. When my parents were born and growing up, I think like 80% of the country had public housing, and Margaret Thatcher basically privatized that as well and sold them all off. So basically no one has public housing anymore, and it's just going to take so long to address that, and then you just have to rely on successive governments actually prioritizing this, which if Labour only lasts 5 years, then that's not even going to be a thing. Not that they promised that too much anyway. So it's just like a bleak situation at the moment. And the one thing to remember is, you read me talking about the coffin homes and people like that janitor, you're far closer to being that guy than you are to being some millionaire, right? And that's what you always have to remember when you read stories like that or hear me say that and think, well, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be me because I'm too smart. I make too much money. You're still at the mercy of capitalism, and you're not in control of this economic system at all. You are exploited by it, and because of that, it's always going to be a gun over your head. It's always going to be something in the background waiting to strike, and it doesn't take much to reduce you and get you right back down to the bottom, no matter how hard you've worked, no matter if you own even your own home, right? And increasingly, less of us do, which makes us even more of a prisoner, because we are at the mercy of landlords, of bosses, of CEOs, and we have no autonomy or freedom under capitalism. And also, you should remember, this is a communist channel, and I'm not going to praise Joe Biden. Weird people in the last video who were getting mad that I criticised him. But that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.
It seems like every single month there's a brand new influencer who's going viral for something funny or stupid, and then a snap of a finger and a blink of an eye, they disappear just like that. It didn't used to be this way, so why did everything change?
The most insane ego. I had Lambos, a big house out here, was throwing parties for all the celebrities and everything, and before you know it, I lost it all.
In today's video, we'll talk about the evolution of internet fame, why some influencers fall off, and make some jokes along the way. I hope you enjoy the video.
I'm a TikToker that fell off. Of course you don't remember me. Of course you haven't seen me since 3 years ago. I'm a TikToker that fell off. Of course I've been doing the same thing over and over again just to gain popularity.
For the sake of the video, I'm going to use the word influencer interchangeably with the word creator. Creators, we do influence people's opinions. But if you're new to TikTok, it might be surprising to you that creators exist who do millions of views in a month and then suddenly disappear, never to be heard from again, like the Avatar or my father. This is a relatively new thing when it comes to influencers and creators. We usually stick around for a while after we build up an audience. Maybe we're not at the heights that we once were, but we still had some kind of fan base. We don't just disappear like out of nowhere.
You guys ain't hear what happened to Polo Boy? Remember that guy that ran TikTok?
For example, if you look at some of the biggest creators on YouTube, they came from Vine. They were originally influencers on Vine. Whether it's Danny Gonzalez or Curtis Connor or even Jake Paul, they came from Vine. They built...
Hey, you want to turn that off?
Why? Why?
I'm allergic to peanuts. You changed, man.
real fan bases, communities, people who really support them on Vine. Even if you look strictly at YouTube, creators like Smosh, Markiplier, or Corey Kenshin lasted a while and have lasted years. This doesn't really happen on TikTok.
There's no longevity in that. And TikTok is really bad about that. There are so many creators that have come and gone, and whether it's due to cancellation, they're gone. Like, they are forever cast, exiled, out of mind, and their career's over. Or it's like, oh, I used to follow her. What happened to her? Which is scarier, I think.
So why is this happening? Most TikTok creators don't have these kind of communities that really support them, or these real connections of people who really want to see them succeed. Take me, for example. For those who don't know, I used to do 1 to 8 million views a week on TikTok before I retired, like LeBron in his prime. I mean, and even though I did 200 million views over the 2 years that I was on TikTok, I was never really truly successful at it. By the time I ended my TikTok career, it sounds really cringy to say, I only had a couple of people who really supported me, and I was actually more broke than when I started.
Spare change, ma'am.
If you're not familiar with TikTok, this kind of doesn't really make sense. You're kind of fed this lie that if you go viral on TikTok, or if you become an influencer on TikTok, you will be successful. That's not really true. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just a resentful loser who's mad that they never grew a real fan base because their content sucks. So let's look at other TikTokers to see if this is really a trend or not.
Without any further ado, I present to you the Republican hype.
Every person she mentioned in that video no longer exists as a content creator or influencer. In fact, if you go to the Republican hype house, it no longer exists. You can barely even find out that there was a thing to begin with. This is the thing on TikTok that a lot of people don't realize is, like, if you don't save something, it'll be lost for time. It's like dinosaur bones, like you're an Antarctica. Oh my God, I can't say the word. I'm not going to even try to. Like you're Indiana Jones and you're going through the archives of TikTok trying to find something. This happens pretty fairly often. People get famous really quickly and then they fall off and you don't even know what happened to their story, and you'll be like, wait, whatever happened to that guy? And you go and look them up and you can never find it. This is common.
Bro, whatever happened to bro?
In fact, most of the hype houses that were started literally failed, and most of the people who were in them don't even have careers as content creators anymore. This goes back to my point that most TikTok influencers fall off and they're not famous.
What do most of these collaborative houses have in common? They don't exist anymore.
I'm not going to focus too hard on this because I don't want to be mean or negative, but if you go back to the Vice video about people who skip college to be influencers, half of the people in that video quit and no longer make content. And those who still make content, a lot of them have fallen off. They went from doing 32 million views to only doing 1 or 10 million views, which sounds a lot, but you're coming from a high peak of 32 million views. That doesn't really happen on YouTube. You can't go a whole year on YouTube doing 32 million, 8 million, 4 million, and then now you're only doing 100,000 to 1 million views. Like, that's not a thing. And even if it was, you've already made so much money that you can retire. You wouldn't have to keep making content. In this Drew Gooden video about the Netflix TV show about I Want to Be Influencer, a lot of the people in this video don't even make videos anymore. And if they do, they're only getting 1,000 views compared to when they were doing 1 million to 3 million views. views. This guy doesn't even make videos anymore. And then you have those people for 1 to 2 months, they're on their villain arc and they're the biggest name on TikTok. Everyone's making videos about them. And then suddenly they disappear. And this happens because, contrary to popular belief, being a villain is actually a hard thing to do. It takes talent to be a villain for a long period of time. No matter what you say about Logan Paul, he is talented. He knows how to play a crowd. That's why he's in wrestling. But on TikTok, you don't need to be talented to go viral. You can say something outrageous, get a couple of headlines, and then be forgotten. And I'll explain why that happens later. But we'll get back to that in a second. I now want to focus on how this isn't really a thing on YouTube. Corey Kenshin, Markiplier, or even Smosh, they don't have these kind of problems. They can go long periods of time without posting and still have a fan base to go back to who want to support them, who want to watch their videos. In fact, Smosh nowadays is kind of like a content house, and even when people leave the cast, they still have fan bases who want to support them and they can still make a career. This doesn't really happen with TikTok hype houses. You don't join one and then become more famous most of the time. You kind of just fall into obscurity and nobody remembers you exist. If you look at someone like Anthony Padilla, who left Smosh, he still had a great career outside of that. He was able to build a fan base, build a community that really supports him. How many TikTokers does that happen with? Almost none. As TikTokers, we can't do that. If you go a month without posting, you will be replaced. People will forget about you, and we'll get to why that happens in a second. But I want to get to the differences in why fame is changing. One of the reasons is because a lot of short form content is getting more popular. More and more people are creating short form content. YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok. And while they're easier to make, it also means that people spend less time with you. Take me again, for example, because I'm a failure. If you added up all the TikToks that I've ever made and you watched them back to back to back to back, you would only be with me for 2 or maybe even 4 hours at most. If you did that with Markiplier or Corey Kenshin or even Smosh, you could be watching their videos for an entire year almost. Maybe not a year, maybe 1 to 2 months. But you get what I'm saying. Like, the time that you're spending with them is a lot longer. TikTok creators don't do that. Most of us create 10 to 15-second videos, 10 to 30 max, because it's really hard on TikTok to get somebody to stay for a minute, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Just not spending time together. People say parasociality or however you say it is bad, but most creators, 99% of creators have that if you're going to be successful, because parasociality is just people spending time with you. Like, they feel a bond with you. If you don't have that bond, they're not going to stay and watch the video. Mr. Beast has a parasocial relationship with his fan base. You want to subscribe to him because you want to see him win. It's part of being a creator. People want to see you win. People want to support you. That's parasociality. People, for some reason, the word has a really toxic connotation. I don't know why, but most creators have a parasocial relationship. TikTokers don't have that. And that's what makes it kind of pointless. So even if I do 1 million views, right, you would think that's a big deal. You would think that's like an achievement, an accomplishment, but it's really not. If I do 1 million views, I realistically probably get $10 to $20 for it. One time I literally did 30 million views and I didn't get a single dime for it.
I was getting about a couple million views a day. $8.99. Now understand, that's a really good chunk of money, but not for 30 million views.
And from that 30 million views, I didn't really gain a fan base from it. They didn't watch any of my other videos. They didn't really even enjoy them. They just came and went. It was served on the algorithm and they went about their day. It was a flash in the pan, a snap of the finger, and it was just done. And you see this time and time again of creators having these viral moments. Maybe it lasts 1 to 4 months. Then suddenly the views just stop coming. People get tired of it, especially on TikTok, because their attention span is so short. They're going to forget about you. The algorithm is going to show them the next thing and they're going to go to that person. They're going to unfollow you and follow that other person. But when you're in it, you don't see it that way. You literally can't. You just see all the numbers go up. You see the thousands of comments calling you funny and talented, and you really feel like you're doing something with your life. You really feel like you're grinding to success. It's that illusion of fame. It's what makes it almost impossible to quit while you're in it. And a lot of people spend their whole entire TikTok careers trying to chase that. I'll get back to that in a second. But while you're in it, it's exciting. You think you're finally doing something with your life. You can finally help your mom with her bills, help your friends and family, to really do something creative and cool. And then slowly, day by day, the views get less and less. And then you're back working at McDonald's, packing up somebody's fries. That's just the reality of TikTok fame, and why I tell people you don't want to be a TikTok influencer.
Influencers in 2020, they like moved to LA and they like quit their old jobs and now they're like nothing.
If anybody's a flop here, it's me! Sorry for yelling at you. I'm really trying to work on that. But, you know, I gotta admit, I haven't gained followers on this app in like a year. It's not like I quit my job or anything. I got fired in 2019 for making TikToks, but I didn't move to LA right away, okay? I stayed back and got my degree first, and then got canceled about 14 times, to the point that I got fired again from Netflix. But for real though, my mindset since the beginning of all this has always been, it can't last forever. It's too fragile. And the fact that I've been doing it for 5 years now is insane. I feel incredibly privileged. I can support myself. I got my dogs. I bought this house. I got an insane amount of connections and a ton of personal growth. And you know, I'm gonna keep making videos until I just don't enjoy it anymore. But I know that one day I'm gonna have to do something else for money until those investments hit. Maybe it's LA industry stuff, or I don't know, maybe I'll teach math.
This doesn't really happen on YouTube. If you do 30 million views or 200 million views, you will get paid decently well. And maybe you're not set for life, but you're set for a couple of years where you can figure something out. And even then, you'll have a strong fan base to fall back on where you can make some sort of income because you have people who actually support you. They choose to support you. Nobody just does 1 million views again and again and again on YouTube. It's not, you know, it doesn't happen by luck. There's some talent to it. There's some editing and storytelling and something that, you know, you have to work to get better on. On TikTok, that's not really a thing. You can literally post the same video on 2 separate accounts, and one video does 1 million and the other does 200.
5 million views. Dope. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. A year passes, a year and a half passes. I'm like, you know what? I wonder how many people haven't seen this video. I'm gonna repost it. So I do repost it. It gets 7.6 million views.
On TikTok, you don't have a real fan base. It's just the algorithm deciding if you'll be successful or not that day. On YouTube, you can have a real fan base, and maybe you'll not go viral every single time, but you have a chance to. But before I explain why that happens, I want to ask you a quick question. If I did 200 million views over my years on TikTok, was I actually famous? I would argue no. I was realistically a nobody. I didn't really matter. I was just another cog in the machine of an algorithm that existed to serve content for that day. There was nothing special about me. If I didn't post that day, somebody else would. They would take my spot in the machine. You choose to go to a Smosh video and to watch their video. You don't choose to watch my videos. It just served you. That day you scroll on your TikTok feed and I happen to show up on your screen. It's all luck. And as a TikTok creator, you learn this. You kind of internalize it in a way that you could spend hours on a video and it will flop no matter the quality, and you could repost it a month later and it would get 2 million views or 3 million views instead of the 200 it got the first time. Since you learn this, you kind of learn not to put a lot of effort into the videos that you make because it's not skill-based. You learn not to spend too much time on the content you make. You just put something out just for content's sake. I'll be the first one to tell you I was making the laziest content. Outside of my 3D animations and my comedy skits that sometimes went viral, I was just putting stuff up that I thought was funny, or a funny meme, or a political thought that I had and I wanted to share. It wasn't a big deal. I didn't think I was like the Plato of our time. It wasn't that serious. I never personally thought that I was gonna make a career off of TikTok, but many people do, and then they fall off in that 4-month period because we are not the stars. The algorithm is. And that's why stuff like this happens, where this woman can do a random street interview and then all of a sudden go mega viral and get invited to world tours with famous musicians and to other podcast interviews, and everybody's making memes of her and even getting tattoos of her. There's no logic behind it. It's just magical. It's a stars align moment. And because it's not built on talent, but it's built on the algorithm making you famous, it's not going to last. And this is no hate to her. I want her to get as much money as possible. Go to every podcast they invite you. Go to every world tour a country musician invites you to. Get the most out of the moment you can, because it's not going to be here forever. So many people delude themselves into thinking that they became famous because of what they did. And while it's true for a lot of people like YouTubers and Viners, not everyone is like this. So they never prepare for the moment where your luck runs out, where the views decline, and you're sitting there wondering what happened.
And I'd more or less in making this video for new and upcoming influencers. If you're able to finish college, do that. I remember when I was an influencer and I was at my peak, I was on college and stuff like that, saying, my teachers never believed in me, this, that, and the other. And they most certainly were most likely right. You think that then, you realize later in life, you gotta live for quite a while, and social media doesn't last forever. But to continue where I was at, I had to figure out another plan. I had to figure out a game plan. I had to learn how to pivot. And that's one thing social media doesn't teach you, is how to pivot and come up with a second game plan. That's why you see the D'Amelios and people like that trying to make all these brands, and they keep failing because they know this isn't gonna last forever, no matter how big you are. I've been around them all, especially living in LA for 10 years. I've been around some of the biggest influencers and seen them lose it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen it.
You can literally see this. One algorithm that changed is that TikTok started pushing longer videos. Every single creator who made short form content, 5 to 15 seconds, they fell off. It's because the algorithm is a star. It didn't matter that you were talented for 5 to 15 seconds. The algorithm decided, I don't want to see that anymore. I'm going to push longer form videos, and those people just weren't seen anymore. They disappeared into the aura. This happens time and time again. And this gets into why fame is changing, because the more that algorithms control who is famous and who gets seen and who who is successful, you're going to see more and more people start to fall off. YouTube is not like this. YouTube is realistically a community-driven app. If people want to watch you, you'll be successful. TikTok is not like that at all. These people who got famous on those platforms, it wasn't luck. They were talented. They had to find a way to do a comedy skit in 7 seconds. People think that influencers on TikTok don't have influence because it's all short videos. That's not true. Danny Gonzalez and all those other people had a lot of influence because they were actually talented. To prove this, look at the top videos on TikTok right now and compare them to the top videos on YouTube. Mr. Beast is talented, whether you like him or not, he is. Logan Paul, Jake Paul, they're talented. If you look at the top videos on TikTok, they're not comedy skits. They're not thought out videos with a lot of editing. They're not science videos that take a lot of research. They're just fun dance videos. They're just funny animal videos. And then even compare this to Vine, which also was short form content. Vine had a lot of creativity, a lot of people who were funny in it. Whether you like them or not, Jake Paul, Danny Gonzalez, Curtis Connor, these people have to have talent to stay around for 10 years. Logan Paul is not staying around for 10 years if he was untalented, whether you like him or not, and I don't even like him. But when the algorithm is the star, not the user, not the creator, anybody can become famous, anybody can have a voice. You are just a cog in the machine. And this is why a lot of people also get canceled, by the way, because there's no loyalty to you. Oh, you said the wrong political opinion? Don't worry, blocked. A new political creator that I agree 100% with is coming in 3 to 5 business days. The algorithm will find him for me. And so because the algorithm is a star and the creator has been devalued, views don't mean anything anymore. Subscriptions don't mean anything anymore. It used to be like a milestone in your career as a YouTuber, as cringy as that sounds. If you reached 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, you got a big button, and not everybody's getting them. I know so many shorts creators who get them, and it used to take years. Like, it could literally take a decade of your life to get 100,000. Now people are doing it in 3 to 5 months. Everything has been devalued. None of it means anything anymore. When you get your moment, you get your flash in the pan, you're here for 4 months, you do 100 million views or so, and then in the instant you're gone and nobody remembers you because you're never the star. They spend only 7 seconds with you. An algorithm will find your replacement if you ever stop uploading. So why should they care to build up a relationship with you, even want to support you? You'll be replaced and they know it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Click here for the next one. Have a great day. Peace.
Success is a fickle thing. Some people will struggle their whole life looking for that one idea that will make them millionaires, while others will simply stumble upon it on their first try. The latter is the case for Scott Adams, the person who made a fortune off his comic strip, Dilbert. What makes this man so interesting to me, though, is that he could have easily coasted off that success for his entire life. But he instead decided to devote his time to multiple other business ventures, which each failed in their own unique ways. And eventually, even his crowning achievement would come crumbling down due to nobody's fault but his own. This is the story of Scott Adams and the death of Dilbert. Scott Adams was born on June 8, 1957 in Windham, New York. He remained in his hometown for most of his youth, attending the nearby Hartwick College after high school. During this time, he claims that his newfound love of drinking and partying had caused his grades to decline and thus put him in danger of losing his scholarship. That turned to worse when he came down with the most severe case of mono that the school's nursing staff had ever seen. At this point, he was reportedly encouraged to drop out since there was no way he could continue his studies in the condition he was in. But Adams stood firm and persevered through the crippling fatigue caused by the illness. Not only did he manage to stay on top of his schoolwork, but he actually improved his grades and got a month ahead of the rest of the class in their reading. Now, it's entirely possible that this story is true, as is the case with all anecdotes that the cartoonist has told about himself. But it's important to establish early on that Scott Adams is a classic example of a boy who cried wolf. He has been known to exaggerate reality or simply make things up whole cloth. But that's not just my assertion. As stated in his own words from his book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, it's hard to know when a cartoonist is being serious and when they are constructing an elaborate practical joke. I've crafted pranks that span years, sometimes when no one was in on the joke but me. Some of those pranks are still percolating. I have posed as other people online and even in person. I've written opinions I don't actually hold just to see what reaction I would get. In order to fully understand the story of Scott Adams, one must accept that the line between truth and fiction is inherently blurred. Another example of this from his early years came soon after his college graduation, when he made the decision to move to sunny California after his car broke down on a remote New York road in the middle of winter, and he nearly froze to death. It is a fact that he flew across the country and enrolled at UC Berkeley in order to earn his MBA. During his time, he began working as a teller at Crocker National Bank. Adams claims that while he was at this job, he was held at gunpoint on 2 separate occasions. It's worth noting that no sources can be found to back up his claim, and in recent years, he has increased that number from 2 to 5. Unsatisfied with his supposedly very dangerous position at the bank, Adams decided to try climbing up the corporate ladder, sending a list of potential ideas for improving the company to his direct superior. Shockingly, despite the fact that these ideas were bad even by his own admission, the young college student was fast-tracked onto Crocker National Bank's management training program. However, his blossoming career was cut short when he was informed that he could not be promoted further since he was a white man, and the corporation was attempting to increase its diversity. Again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, keep in mind that the only source for these claims is what Adams has written. This will be important later on. But whatever the reason was for his stalled career progress at Crocker, Scott decided to move to a new job at the Pacific Bell Telephone Company after earning his master's. Unfortunately, he was soon met with the exact same career hurdle, unable to advance any further due to his race and gender. It was at this point that Adams decided it was time for a change. He wasn't particularly passionate about the corporate world anyway. If they didn't want him, he would forge his own path. But before we go any further with this video, I just want to give a shout out to my company, 1UP. I know it's been a while since I talked about it, but that's because we were running low on inventory and I had to wait until we were fully back in stock. For those that aren't aware, this is a high-quality, all-in-one face cream that I've spent the last 2 years developing with my team. 1UP moisturizes, boosts, strengthens, protects, and tones skin all in one bottle. So instead of having to use 5 or 6 different creams every single day, I just put this on and I'm good to go. I know some people were confused about why I was involved in this project, but to be clear, this is my vision and I'm CEO of this company. That's not to say I don't get any professional help. It's co-owned by Dr. Deborah Bailey. She's a dermatologist with over 30 years of experience that also has the vision of simplifying skincare. So if you want to try 1UP for yourself, go to gotoneUp.com and use code GFM at checkout. And if you subscribe and save, you'll get 25% off your order, which makes it around 75 cents a day to use 1UP. Scott's strategy was to wake up at 4 a.m. every day before work and practice new skills which would potentially earn him a living. While most of these were duds, there was one that immediately jumped out as the most promising: cartooning.
Dilbert had been created as a character I used in my day job, and I would do little comics on my whiteboard in my cubicle. And sometimes I'd do presentations as part of my job, and I'd put in some comics that I drew. And they were kind of popular around the office, and pretty soon they started to get spread around the company.
The budding artist began submitting Dilbert to various publishing houses before finally getting signed to United Features Syndicate in 1989. These early strips were slightly different to the identity the comic would eventually take on, featuring only 2 main characters, the titular Dilbert and his pet named Dogbert. Dilbert's growth was slow at first, being published in just 100 newspapers in 1991. A couple years in, Adams began to include his newly made email address in the margins of each strip, at a time when most people didn't even know what that was. He credits much of his early success in the world of cartooning to this decision, as readers were able to reach out and tell him what direction they'd like to see the series going. Specifically, many of these emailers showed a strong preference for comics which depicted Dilbert working at his office job, prompting Adams to lean more into that aspect of his creation. His years of experience dealing with corporate America had given him ample material to work with, and he was more than happy to put it to good use.
We just had a meeting and decided to change your project substantially. We didn't invite you to the meeting because things go smoother when nobody has any actual knowledge. So, what are the changes? If I remember, I'll leave you a voicemail.
This is when things really started to take off. As the comics focus shifted to satire of office culture, more and more people began taking notice. In just a few short years, the Dilbert brand exploded in popularity from a humble comic strip to a pop culture juggernaut. And make no mistake, this was a brand. Those who weren't around during Dilbert's peak in the late 90s and early 2000s may find it hard to fathom what a phenomenon it was, as merchandise and comic strips adorned the walls of cubicles worldwide. This rise corresponds with the growing popularity of media satirizing corporate careers during the 90s, with films like Office Space and Falling Down releasing during this era as well. In just a few short years, Dilbert had reached the forefront of this growing movement. In his book, Adams writes about being a student in college, dreaming about achieving success by creating something that was, quote, widely desired and easy to produce. It seemed with Dilbert he had found exactly what he was looking for. It's important to note that Dilbert's success was due to two major factors. While the first was obviously its relatability and mass appeal, luck and good timing also played a large part. What must be understood is the same year Dilbert was picked up by a publisher, the cartoonist Berkeley Breathed ended his acclaimed comic Bloom County. A few years later, in 1985, Bill Watterson also made the decision to step away from his creation, the widely beloved Calvin and Hobbes. Both of these comics were published in thousands of papers across the globe, and thus created a large vacuum upon their conclusions. And this was a vacuum Dilbert was more than able to fill. But not everyone was so thrilled about this meteoric rise. Bill Griffith, the cartoonist behind the absurdist comic strip Zippy the Pinhead, published an opinion piece lamenting the state of the newspaper comics page, in which he pointed to Dilbert as a prime example of the art form's decline. Dilbert is a marketing strategy. It's the most popular and successful new comic strip in America today. What does this tell us about the medium? The comic strip exists in the twilight zone where art meets commerce. Comic strips today seem more of a comfort than an artistic statement. They're there. And with a mind-numbing regularity, they'll be there, recycling the same diet jokes and lifestyle gags again and again, day after day. They're not really meant to be read. They're meant to be scanned, quickly absorbed, and just as quickly forgotten. While this comes off as a bit smug for a person talking about the funny page, Griffith's concerns weren't without merit. Zippy the Pinhead, Bloom County, and Calvin and Hobbes were all known for their detailed artwork and thoughtful writing. In the span of just a few short years, two of these comics were gone, replaced with a strip that seemed interested only in pumping out content, primarily focused on mass appeal. But Scott Adams obviously felt differently. In response to the op-ed, he published a series of Dilbert strips in which Dogbert creates his own comic titled Pippi the Ziphead. Adams used this as a vehicle to lay out all of his problems with Zippy. Mainly, he seemed to feel that the detailed artwork and non-sequitur writing style that Griffith took such pride in were simply the work of a bitter man making a comic that, quote, no one will enjoy. Bill, for his part, responded with his own comic strip, mocking Dilbert's simplistic art and writing style. While the beef fizzled out from there, two things had been proven. One, the landscape of the newspaper comics page had changed forever, and two, Scott Adams did not take kindly to mockery. It wasn't just other cartoonists expressing their frustration around this time either. As the Dilbert craze exploded in popularity nationwide, a man named Tristan Farron became increasingly annoyed seeing the cartoon character everywhere he went. In his own words, I've suffered through years of insipid Dilbert-related merchandise staring at me from other people's cubicles. I've worked on software projects codenamed Dogbert. It just got annoying. This annoyance eventually mutated into a burning, seething resentment that needed some form of release. Tristan went to his personal website and published The Dilbert Hole, a comic in which he took Scott Adams' drawings and edited out the dialogue, replacing it with the most vulgar things he could think of. Despite its relative obscurity, the site received a small cult fan base on the early internet from people who shared Farron's disdain for Dilbert. But a wrench was thrown into their fun when United Features Syndicate took notice of the Dilbert Hole and sent Farron a cease and desist. This struck many people as petty, considering that Tristan was far from the only person making fun of the cartoon office worker online. But what was truly baffling was the personal note that he received from Adams himself, asking him simply, do you want to go to jail? While it could have probably been argued in court that the Dilbert Hole fell under the umbrella of fair use, Tristan decided he didn't want to deal with the headache and simply deleted the comics from his site, at which point he was informed that United would be monitoring his web activity. The comics readers expressed their disappointment, catching the attention of the shock website Ron.com. They reached out to Tristan and asked if they could host his creations on their platform, knowing full well what the potential legal ramifications could be. An agreement was reached and the Dilbert hole found a new home. Of course, it wasn't long before they too were served with legal papers. While the Ron admins ultimately decided to take down the comics as well, they still managed a small act of rebellion by replacing them with an image of the documents they had received. In response, United sent them another message ordering them to remove all mention of the Dilbert name from their websites, meaning that they were served legal papers over the previous legal papers. They complied, putting up an image of the new request with the name Dilbert censored and replaced with penis. This no doubt angered the cartoonist even further, but since Ron had technically honored the request of his lawyers, there was nothing he could do about it. Adams never responded to the situation further after this. But these events were merely blips on Scott's rise to prominence. As his comic gained popularity, the next logical step was to try adapting it into another medium, with many networks clamoring for the opportunity to produce a TV show based on the IP. Adams originally brokered a deal with Fox in '97 to create a live-action Dilbert series, although the project soon fell apart after just one pilot was filmed and never aired. Little is known about what this show would have been like. Even the cast lineup is not available, with it being lost media. This failure convinced Adams that the only way a Dilbert show could work was if it was animated. A deal was eventually signed with the small broadcaster UPN, with whom he believed he would have the largest amount of freedom to create whatever he wanted. And as a person who's watched through the entire thing, it's actually really solid, and I'd recommend checking it out if you're into adult animation. The project certainly had a fair amount of pedigree behind it, as Adams teamed up with Larry Charles, a writer who had been instrumental to Seinfeld during its early years, to help create it. When the first episode premiered in 1999, it received glowing reviews from both critics and audiences alike, who praised it for its cynical and satirical sense of humor similar to the original comic. By any measure, it seemed as though UPN had a hit on their hands, one that could potentially raise their standing significantly in the world of TV broadcasting. The thing is, though, success is fickle in the entertainment industry, and Dilbert was canceled the very next year after just 2 seasons on the air. Just a few years after that, UPN went defunct. In an interview from 2006, Adams reflected on many of the factors that led to the Dilbert show's failure. He primarily blamed the network's executives. In addition to the already low viewership of UPN, the show's time slot was repeatedly changed. He also cited the fact that Dilbert was aired after another program titled Shasta McNasty, which Scott described as, quote, the worst TV show ever made. If there was one thing made clear from this ordeal, it's that Scott Adams was ready to flex his creative muscles beyond the newspaper comics page, perhaps even beyond the confines of Dilbert. He started concocting a plan before approaching Pierluigi Zappacosta, the co-founder of Logitech, to help him pull off a prank at his company. The plan was simple. Adams would conduct a meeting with Logitech's executives in disguise as a corporate strategist and convince them to adopt the most convoluted mission statement he was able to concoct. Although most of this has been poorly archived, the process of transforming Scott Adams into this fake consultant was detailed in the San Jose Mercury News website. Taking on the pseudonym Ray Maybear, the cartoonist put on a wig, fake mustache, and some white makeup to sell the disguise. I don't see why he went through the hassle to do this personally, though, as it's unlikely anyone would have recognized him either way. Accompanied by a camera crew and a journalist by the name of Tia O'Brien, Adams strolled into the meeting and began his act, diving into his idea for their new mission statement and accepting any and all pitches from the executives present in order to fill it with the largest amount of corporate jargon possible. By the end, the result was as follows. The new venture's mission is to scout profitable growth opportunities in relationships, both internally and externally, in emerging mission-inclusive markets, and explore new paradigms, and then filter and communicate and evangelize the findings. Adams then removed his disguise, revealing his scheme to the room of confused businessmen. It's unclear what exactly the point of the stunt was, though. By all accounts, it seems that the Logitech leaders were never going to adopt this new mission statement. But it's undeniable that Scott took great pride in it. Perhaps he was using it as proving ground that he was more than just a one-trick pony, more than just the Dilbert guy. It was also around this time that he started getting booked for public speaking gigs, which quickly took off as well and became a lucrative source of income in its own right. This, combined with the profits from the syndication and merchandising of Dilbert, meant that Adams now had a vast amount of money to do whatever he wanted. Investing was the obvious way to go, and he purchased stakes in a few early dot-com bubble companies that ended up going nowhere, including proto-competitors to sites like YouTube and Postmates. He also put some of his savings into infamous disasters such as Enron and WorldCom. This was Scott's cue to take matters into his own hands and put more of a personal stake into the businesses he invested in. According to his autobiography, he had been constantly thinking up ideas for years, ranging from computer programs to office supplies. The vast majority of these concepts died before even getting started, either due to a lack of ability or difficulty getting a patent. But a couple of them actually managed to grow into something real, before crashing and burning on each occasion. Outside of cartooning, food was also one of the consistent interests for Adams. In the late 90s, he teamed up with a restaurateur named Stacy Belkin to create Stacy's Cafe, located in Pleasanton, California. It's important to note that Scott's role in this venture was purely financial, with Belkin handling the day-to-day managerial role. By all accounts, this business was quite successful, with high customer satisfaction and consistently strong revenue. A few years later, the owners decided it was time to expand to a second location. This is when the trouble started. When Stacy's at Waterford opened for business in Dublin, California in 2006, it wasn't long before the problems presented themselves. Belkin quickly became overwhelmed with her responsibilities managing both establishments. Needing someone to lead the charge on a new location, Adams nominated the best candidate he could think of: himself. Many people at the time, including Scott, pointed out the irony that a man who had made a career out of parodying incompetent bosses was now becoming one. As he stated in a blog post from this period, "I am highly experienced at making funny comics about managers. How hard could it be to transition from mocking idiots to being one?" What must be understood is that Adams had never hired employees to help with his comics business, and thus had zero experience managing any sort of staff. He would take suggestions from anyone, including employees, to simply people he was friends with, resulting in something of a throw everything at the wall and see what sticks mentality. To quote the restaurant's head chef from an interview conducted by the New York Times, he truly had no idea what he was doing. Eventually, as the eatery's profits continued slipping, he became desperate enough to solicit ideas from anonymous Dilbert fans over the internet. What he received in response were primarily jokes. One particularly popular suggestion was that Stacy's at Waterford host a new volleyball tournament on the premises. Needless to say, this was another dead end. But Adams had one idea of his own. As time went on, he became increasingly obsessed with the dining room's lighting. According to him, this was the most important factor in any restaurant success, even more so than food quality. A consistent point of frustration for him were the building's large windows, which made consistent lighting impossible. So his giant idea was to get rid of all of the natural light. Over the following months, he and his staff met up with dozens of interior designers, none of whom were able to provide them with the adequate curtains needed to fully block out the sunlight. After a while, Adams was forced to give up on this idea as well. In a last desperate attempt to save the eatery, Scott tried to market it using the one thing he had always found success with: Dilbert. He set out blank comic panels at the tables and encouraged guests to draw their own cartoons, as well as setting up a TV with a constant loop of Dilbert comic strips playing at all times. There was even a rumor that he had plans to make employees dress up in Dilbert-inspired uniforms, but Adams flatly denied it, and ultimately it was too little too late. Stacy's at Waterford was eventually forced to close after being boxed out by nearby competitors, and the original Stacy's Cafe shut down not long after. Adam's other food-based business venture was one that he put even more of a personal stake into. Health and nutrition have always been factors which he credits heavily for his career success. As a longtime vegetarian, Scott felt that he had a duty to his audience to help them live better. In 1998, he founded Scott Adams Foods, a company through which he created one product, the Dilburrito. As the name implies, this was a Dilbert-themed microwavable burrito created with the help of Jack Parker, a man who had a long career in the food industry. The product came in 4 flavors: Mexican, Indian, barbecued, and garlic and herb, each one containing 100% of the consumer's recommended daily vitamin intake. According to experts, it is not necessarily advisable for someone to eat all of their vitamins in one meal, as this can lead to an excess of certain substances. Nevertheless, Adams soldiered on with the idea, even creating a website to promote it. This is where he wrote about his plans for the Dilburrito, giving us some insight into just how important he believed this business would be for the human race. He even hired some Ukrainian developers to make a video game based off of the product. It was simple. The player was required to guide Dilbert into exercising and eating healthy foods in order to outlive his nemesis. Succeeding in this task would reward the player with an animation of Dilbert dancing on his enemy's grave. Despite Scott's lofty ambitions for the Dilburrito, the product flopped hard when it was released to the market. He was able to admit to some of its flaws, namely that the vegetable and bean content was so great that it caused digestive problems for many customers. But in his autobiography, Adams blames the failure of the Dilburrito primarily on rival food companies, who he alleges hired agents to go into grocery stores and hide his product in the back of the freezer section. It's important to note that this claim of corporate gaslighting was unconfirmable, and the only place I've ever seen it stated was by him. Scott Adams Foods soon ceased operation only a few years after being created, ending the cartoonist's dreams of changing the world. This appears to be a failure that still bothers him to this day. The Dilburrito was much more than just a microwavable lunch option. It was supposed to be a gift to mankind. In 2006, he married a woman by the name of Shelley Miles, from whom he gained 2 stepchildren. The couple enjoyed a quiet relationship before eventually splitting in 2014. It seems as though they remained on good terms after the divorce, and Adams even continued to be a fixture in their children's lives in the following years. In his free time, of which it appeared he had a lot of during the early to mid-2000s, since drawing Dilbert took up very little of his daily schedule, Scott fancied himself something of a philosopher and life coach. After all, he was being paid a great deal of money for public speaking events. He has published many books over his lifetime, primarily regarding his views on the world. One of the earliest of these was the Dilbert Principle, which expounded on the idea that the least competent people at any company would be promoted to management to mitigate the amount of harm they could do. While that's a funny concept for a 3-panel comic strip, I find it amazing that people actually live by that philosophy. You might be noticing a pattern here. Anytime he wants to achieve success or help one of his struggling business ventures, Adams will attach the Dilbert name to it in hopes of getting it a wider audience. This makes sense, as the comic has proven to be the most marketable idea out of any of them. But still, it's not the thing he's most proud of. In interviews, Scott Adams has stated that his true legacy will be his writings about religion. From 2001 to 2004, he published a duology of novellas titled God's Debris and the Religion War, which detailed his views on theology. Sort of. It's important to remember that Adams has always been an unreliable narrator when it comes to telling stories about his life, and that goes doubly for discussing his personal beliefs. The introduction for God's Debris explains this in his own words. The opinions and philosophies expressed by the characters in this book are not my own, except by coincidence in a few spots not worth mentioning. You won't discover my opinions by reading my fiction. God's Debris is framed around a conversation between 2 nameless fictional characters, the protagonist and a mysterious old man who, as the author states during the introduction, knows everything. The two discuss a laundry list of topics, all revolving around God and religion, with the all-knowing old man described in the book as a fifth-level human, making some truly bizarre assertions about the nature of reality, which the protagonist slowly starts to believe over the course of the book. These include the idea that all religions are subconsciously aware that what they believe is wrong, and only claim to have faith in order to receive the earthly benefits of doing so. He also states that all of creation is the result of God blowing himself up just to see what would happen if he died, hence the title God's Debris. To give my writer's review of the novella, it is a meandering story of two characters asking questions that are meant to sound vaguely intelligent, but ultimately mean nothing at all. One particularly aggravating exchange sees the characters debating the difference between fantasy and reality. The old man argues that an object that the protagonist has physically interacted with is just as real as something like the Easter Bunny, since both of these things now exist only as memories. This ignores the fact that nobody has ever physically interacted with the Easter Bunny. Adams has described this book as a thought experiment, merely a series of ideas to ponder, but not meant to be taken literally. However, the fact that he stated he believes some of the opinions expressed by the characters without specifying which ones leaves a lot of room for doubt. This is a frequent pattern when studying Scott Adams. He will often say outrageous things while downplaying and obfuscating how true he actually thinks they are. He'll say things he genuinely believes, except for the parts he doesn't, never clarifying which are which. One thing that he has been very upfront about is his belief in the power of words. Scott is a trained hypnotist, receiving his certificate in his 20s. Now, hypnotism is a somewhat controversial subject in the field of psychology. While studies have shown it may have some benefits in situations such as weight loss, quitting smoking, or even pain relief, it is far from a miracle cure for any of these conditions, and has proven ineffective in many scenarios. But Adams has complete faith in the practice, seemingly likening it to some form of mind control over the plebs. Hypnosis treats people as if they are machines that can be programmed. If you provide the right inputs, you get the outputs you want. He has on multiple occasions referred to the human race as moist robots, who will bend to the will of anyone who can string together the right series of words. In fact, he claims to have put this into action within God's Debris, stating in the introduction for its sequel that he, quote, used a variety of hypnosis techniques in an attempt to produce a feeling of euphoric enlightenment in the reader. My writer Jack says he didn't feel this way after reading the book. Another one of Scott's deeply held beliefs is the power of affirmations. Essentially, this is a practice in which a person repeats their goals to themselves every day in order to help them succeed. In the past, when the cartoonist has spoken about affirmations, critics have accused him of believing they are some form of magic. Adams has strongly denied this, stating that he simply believes them to be helpful in focusing on one's goal. This may sound reasonable enough until you read the section of his autobiography in which he gives an example when affirmations have worked in his life. My first affirmation was, I, Scott Adam, will become rich. The long version of the story involves two ridiculously lucky stock picks that came to me out of nowhere in separate flashes of something that felt like intuition. I invested nothing in the first stock because of a paperwork snafu, and it subsequently went to the moon. I bought and quickly sold the second stock for a respectable gain and watched from the sidelines as it too zoomed up. Despite Scott's protests to the contrary, this sounds like someone casting a magic spell on their brain to tell them which stocks to invest in to become rich. And since he claims to have either pulled out before the stock's peak or failed to invest at all, he can't technically be proven wrong, which is also a pattern when researching for this video. Another instance in which he claimed affirmations helped him was when he developed focal dystonia during his early years of Dilbert.
And what would happen is, as soon as my hand would come down to the paper with a pencil in it, the pinky would start spasming. And the hand was perfect otherwise. There were no problems structurally with the hand. It wasn't carpal tunnel. And I found out later, when I found the doctor who turns out was an expert on this very thing, focal dystonias, that it's a brain problem. And the solution, they said, was to stop doing what you're doing, which in my case meant don't be a cartoonist anymore.
Despite being told that there was no known cure or even a treatment, Adams persevered. He tried various workarounds such as drawing with his left hand or tying his pinky to his ring finger, but nothing worked. It seemed as though the cartooning career was about to be over before it even began. Eventually, though, he developed a technique to aid his recovery.
And I would sit at boring meetings for hours at a time, and below the table, I would just touch my pen to my pad of paper and then lift it up before the spasm happened, because I could, touch it. But and then I got to the point where I could leave it there for a second before the spasm happened. And eventually, I just kept doing it until that second would become 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And at about 5 seconds, it just, whatever was wrong with my brain remapped. And it just took the problem away.
Yes, through sheer force of will, Scott Adams had cured himself of an incurable condition. While this is also a difficult claim to verify, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt because enough reputable sources have reported on it. And it's safe to say that he at least suffered from focal dystonia and overcame it. As Adam writes in his book, my hand doctor said I'm part of the literature on this topic now, although my name is not mentioned. But just because this particular affliction had ended, it didn't mean he was in the clear just yet. In 2005, Scott began to experience difficulty speaking in social settings, with words coming out choppy and oftentimes getting caught in his throat altogether. He reportedly spent nearly 6 months visiting various doctors, none of whom could offer him a proper diagnosis. Finally, he decided to consult the internet, at which point he was finally able to give his condition a name: spasmodic dysphonia. When he consulted his doctor, he was met with the same prognosis as his pinky. There was no cure, and he would never speak properly again. He remained this way for 3 years, barely able to talk to anyone, even his own family, in a conversational setting. He more often than not was forced to use single-syllable words or a crude form of sign language to convey his needs. He was able to improve somewhat via a weekly treatment in which Botox was injected directly into his throat, but this was hardly a solution to the problem. It probably goes without saying that this was a difficult time period for Adams, as he became more and more reclusive and shrank back into his own world. Eventually, though, he was alerted to a highly experimental surgery in which his vocal cords would be completely severed from his brain so he could re-establish connection over the course of a months-long recovery. Despite being informed that there was a 15% chance that he could permanently remove his voice altogether, Adams decided to take the risk. Fortunately for him, this ended up being the right decision, as he claims his voice actually came back stronger than it was before. Scott also credits affirmations with this recovery, although it's not entirely clear how the two are connected. While his voice had returned, there were still some lasting effects from his years without it. As he puts it, "For 3.5 years, I experienced a total disconnect from normal life, and a profound sense of aloneness despite the love and support of my family and friends. It was because of this that the cartoonist decided to turn to the internet to fill the void. And this may have been the start of the long chain of dominoes that led to the end of Dilbert as we know it. As already established from his battles with the likes of Bill Griffith and Tristan Farron, Scott Adams does not enjoy being made fun of, and spending more time online meant more opportunities to see his name dragged through the mud. As social media continued to grow into the Goliath that it is today, people started taking notice of all the odd things Adams had been publishing. One early example came in 2011 when he wrote a blog post detailing his opinions on the men's rights movement, which somehow angered both sides of the political spectrum. I would like to speak directly to my male readers who feel unjustly treated by the widespread suppression of men's rights. Get over it, you bunch of pussies. The reality is that women are treated differently by society for exactly the same reason that children and the mentally handicapped are treated differently. It's just easier this way for everyone. You don't argue with a 4-year-old about why he shouldn't eat candy for dinner. You don't punch a mentally handicapped guy even if he punches you first. And you don't argue when a woman tells you she's only making 80 cents to your dollar. It's the path of least resistance. You save your energy for more important battles. This ignited a small firestorm online, downplaying how much of what he wrote he actually believed in, claiming he was just trying to be different. This, along with several other things he had written over the years, turned Adams into an internet oddity. One such place that began discussing him was the website Metafilter, where post after post was created lambasting the cartoonist for anything ranging from his apparent misogyny to his ego. After a while, though, a mysterious account named Planned Chaos showed up to defend the Dilbert creator. Lots of haters here. I hate Adams for his success too, but some factual clarifications are in order. As far as Adams' ego goes, maybe you don't understand what a writer does for a living. No one writes unless he believes that what he writes will be interesting to someone. Everyone on this page is talking about him, researching him, and obsessing about him. His job is to be interesting, not loved. As someone mentioned, he has a certified genius IQ, and that's hard to hide. Pretty much immediately, people caught on to the fact that this was just Scott Adams in disguise. Metafilter users humored him for a little while, mainly relishing in the fact that they were able to make fun of the cartoonist directly. Nobody is suggesting that Scott Adams is talented or interesting. He certainly is rich though, and if that isn't enough to earn your undying respect, then there's just no reaching it. Eventually though, Adams chose to reveal his true identity and retreated from the thread. He later went onto his blog to discuss the matter, playing it off as if it wasn't a big deal and the criticism didn't bother him. On the scale of immoral behavior where genocide is at the top and wearing Spanx is near the bottom, posting comments under an alias to clear up harmful misconceptions is about one level worse than Spanx. This was just a taste of what type of pettiness Scott was capable of when his views were challenged. And if an obscure message board was able to rile him up that much, things got indefinitely worse when he became more active on Twitter during the mid to late 2010s. If we made it legal for kids to kill their bullies, a lot of problems would go away. We'd create new problems, sure. But how could those new problems be worse? This is a thought experiment, not a recommendation. Now that people had an unprecedented level of access to the cartoonist, though, these musings would receive a flood of negative replies, a great deal of which would be responded to by Adams. Strangely, he has referred to many of his critics as Keith, which from my best guess seems to be a reference to his hatred for the TV commentator Keith Olbermann. However, not all of his posts have been framed as these bizarre thought experiments. Once he made a tweet talking about why the Dilbert TV show had been canceled all those years prior. While he had already spoken about this in 2006, his newest reasoning was much different than that given in the old interview. I lost my TV show for being white when UPN decided it would focus on an African-American audience. That was the third job I lost for being white. Once again, this received a significant amount of pushback, which the millionaire artist couldn't help but respond to. This is merely a small sample of the sorts of things Adams would post to Twitter. And truth be told, we could spend hours simply reading his tweets. But there is one more that is worth bringing up purely on how brazen it was. In 2018, Scott's ex-stepson Justin tragically passed away from a fentanyl overdose at just 18 years of age. Fast forward to 2022, when a mass shooting took place in Highland Park, Illinois, and Adams felt the need to connect the two events. When a young male, let's say 14 to 19, is a danger to himself and others, society gives the supporting family two options. 1, watch people die. 2, kill your own son. Those are your only options. I chose number 1 and watched my stepson die. I was relieved he took no one else with him. It goes without saying that this shocked the internet. And to this very day, I still don't even understand what he was trying to get at. He only dug his hole deeper when the thread continued, talking about how there was no cure for these troubled young men and the only hope was to create some sort of area away from society where they could harm each other. Adams was scrutinized heavily for these statements, as people simply couldn't believe he would speak so callously about a deceased boy he had a partial hand in raising. He was unrepentant though, digging his heels in with every negative response he received. Like all the other controversies, this too eventually blew over, but it still remains a stain on his online reputation. Of course, there is a single factor for Scott Adams' newfound success on Twitter in the mid-2010s: Donald Trump. which is where a lot of Zoomers probably found out about the Dilbert creator in the first place. I pretty vividly remember immediately after Trump's presidential campaign began, Adams was fixated on the candidate. A large part of this plays into his hypnotism training and his moist robot theory of human behavior. You see, there is another pillar to his worldview, which is that there are people who have discovered the secret key to controlling a significant amount of the global population using just their words. He has dubbed these people master wizards. I see Trump as a modern-day wizard who is baffling the media because he is playing three-dimensional chess on their two-dimensional chessboard. Trump is talking directly to people's subconscious. Everything else he says is just a carrier signal. Now, those of you who are well-versed in online political rhetoric might find the phrase 3D chess familiar. In an ironic twist, it turns out that Scott Adams is actually the originator of the infamous 4D chess meme. Know Your Meme cites him as one of the very first individuals to circulate the claim. While it's technically unproven, it's hard to imagine that his initial statement didn't result in the spread of the phrase. By the way, do you want to know who else is a master wizard? Apparently Kanye West. Anyway, his support for Trump gave Adams a plethora of new topics to tweet about in the days to come, as he started receiving the most attention he had ever had since the heyday of Dilbert. One tweet from this era I found particularly interesting was when he implies that Hillary Clinton was connected with terrorists. If there are no sponsored terror attacks before Election Day, it means ISIS prefers Clinton. They have the means. Think about it. In addition, Adams made the claim that he feared for his life as a Trump supporter living in California.
I live in California, and it's not really safe to support Trump in California. I mean, it's physically not safe, and I mean that in a real way. I'm sort of personality that most things don't bother me.
Right-wing psychopath.
But bullying happens to be one of those things that does. And the Clinton side is going full bully now.
As can probably be expected, these statements were not exactly popular. His previous odd posts and musings could easily be mocked and moved on from. But now he had thrown himself fully into the incredibly divisive 2016 political landscape, and people couldn't look away. And you gotta give him credit that he was one of the first people going around to mainstream media outlets telling them that Donald Trump would win. Because he got the last laugh last time around, he became even more outrageous in 2020. If Biden is elected, there's a good chance you will be dead within the year. Republicans will be hunted. Police will stand down. While many continue to mock his thought experiments, this behavior began to worry his longtime fans. Adams had always been a strange person, but his latest ramblings were on a whole other level. They wondered what had changed to cause such a rapid decline in his mental health. It was around this time that Adams started WhenHub Interface, a platform in which theoretically users could be connected with experts in any field for one-on-one video chats. He had actually started the service in 2017, although nothing had come of it at that time. And since it was 2020, of course there was a cryptocurrency attached to it dubbed When Token. Strangely, he also decided to make his second wife, Instagram model Christina Basham, the company's vice president. This was solely based on the fact that she was skilled at growing her social media following. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the entire website fell into disrepair only a few months after the 2020 rebrand, and hasn't been heard from since. He and Basham would also seem to divorce 2 years later. This was just the latest in a long line of failed businesses Scott had created, and it was something he could afford to do. As long as Dilbert was still being published in newspapers on a daily basis, a consistent stream of revenue would keep flowing in to fund whatever scheme he cooked up next. But there was a change in the air, as he would go on to ruin his own life for no reason. As Scott Adams continued incessant political Twitter postings, public perception on him soured at a rapid pace. It didn't help that Dilbert, or comic strips in general for that matter, were hardly the cultural juggernauts they had once been. Behind the scenes, his publishers were probably starting to see Adams as more of a risk than a benefit, and started looking for any reason to cut him loose. In February of 2023, Scott discovered a poll which asked black people if they agreed with the statement, "It's okay to be white," to which only 53% of those asked said yes. The cartoonist was outraged by this, going onto a live stream to make his thoughts perfectly clear.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going. The best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people, wherever you have to go.
I get a better idea about not just white people, black people, Arab, Syrian, I don't know, everybody. How about everybody, no matter what your ethnicity is, stay the fuck away from Scott Adams.
Just get away.
Not only did it start another barrage of outrage, but newspapers across the country opted to drop Dilbert from their lineup. His then current distributor
Say something. Meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow.
Andrews McMeel Universal also cut ties, and Penguin Random House canceled his upcoming book release. This was the end. Scott Adams had killed the golden goose that was Dilbert, effectively torpedoing his career that he had spent years building in a single day. For his part, the former professional cartoonist didn't seem to think he had done anything wrong. He chastised the publishers who dropped him on Twitter, claiming they had offered no disagreement about his point of view. In the FAQ section of the Dilbert website, he returned to his old tried and true technique, pretending he hadn't actually meant what he said, at least not entirely. Why did Dilbert get canceled? If you believe the news, it was because I am a big ol' racist. I recommend staying away from any group of Americans that identifies your group as the bad guys, because that puts a target on your back. I was speaking hyperbolically, of course, because we Americans don't have an option of staying away from each other. But it did get a lot of attention, as I hoped. More than I planned, actually. So as he put it, it was just a thought experiment, bro, and he planned for this to happen as a 3D chess move with his wizard hypnotist high IQ brain, and all you moist robots are just pawns he's in control of. And this brings us to current day. So where is Scott Adams now? Well, since he has retained 100% of the rights to his comics IP, he still continues to publish Dilbert to his paid subscribers under the title Dilbert Reborn, alongside his other series, Robots Read News.
I'd like to submit a formal complaint about all the racism in this workplace. Oh wow, I'm so sorry. It's the white people, isn't it? We totally suck. I feel as if I personally owe you some reparations. We're all colonizers who are descended from slave owners. It's a stain that can never be removed until everyone who looks like me has been banished to hell. Tell me which cracker did this to you. No one was racist against me. You all seem to be racist against yourselves, and frankly, it's creepy. How can we make it up to you? See, you're doing it again.
And of course, he is still tweeting about politics, as you would imagine. If he at least saves—
So real. That's like the realest thing. All black people feel that way.
Some of his money from the height of his success, it's likely he will be okay financially for the rest of his life. But his professional and personal reputations have been destroyed beyond repair. Scott Adams simply couldn't leave well enough alone, and allowed his need to be
I don't think Scott Adams has literally met a black person or talked to a black person his entire fucking life. Look at this motherfucker. White people don't even want to talk to him. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. You're weird looking, bro.
I used
Black
to play
people
this game
don't
as a
want
kid.
to talk to you. I don't want to.
Tres, dos, uno. Kill all the
contrarian to destroy everything he had built. I think the best way to sum up this entire story would be a line that caught my attention while reading through his now humorously titled book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. Sometimes the only difference between crazy people and artists is that artists write down what they imagine seeing. In the past few decades, hardly a week has gone by without a stranger on the internet questioning my mental health. The rational part of my brain knows that if enough people suggest I might be crazy, I need to consider the possibility.
Doesn't matter. No, I think it's a perfect term. The Democratic Party Brandon Dead Enders are operating in an identical cult-like manner to the hard Trump loyalists. The major difference, however, is that they will vote for very important. Hakeem Jeffries is basically Nancy Pelosi 2.0. Okay, Speaker of the House. He was groomed for the position by Nancy Pelosi. He is reflecting the attitude.
Groomed, nice choice of words, Hassan.
Attitudes of Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Emeritus. Anyway, and he has not offered Biden his endorsement at the White House meeting that he conducted today or yesterday. And he actually came out with a relatively neutral statement, which is a big deal, okay? Pretty big deal. He's the top House Democrat. These are people with institutional control. Does Chris Hayes watch you? Yes, he does. Let's watch.
Up first, a meeting between the top Democrat in the House and the President of the United States. They talked at the White House last night after Biden's NATO news conference. Now, we know little about that conversation right now, and Jeffries, in a vague letter, offered scant details about the face-to-face. He said he relayed, quote, heartfelt perspectives and conclusions about the path forward, so the Democrats have shared with him, the leader. I want to go straight to Capitol Hill, and there where we find Lauren Fox. And Lauren, an 18th Democrat just came out against Joe Biden. What do we know about that call for him to step aside and this meeting between the leader and the president?
Yeah, Manu, a continued dripping of Democrats coming out against the president, arguing that it is time for him to hand the torch over to a new generation of leaders. But obviously, all eyes are on getting more details about this meeting that happened yesterday after this press conference between President Joe Biden and the Democratic leader.
Yo, it ain't. I mean, are the Democrats actually going to make the right decision? Holy fuck.
On Capitol Hill, Hakeem Jeffries. Now, Jeffries has been keeping his views pretty close to the vest, offering very little insight into his position. But we are learning this morning that he did meet with the president. And in his letter to colleagues, he wrote, quote, on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus, I requested and was graciously granted a private meeting with President Joe Biden. That meeting occurred yesterday evening. In my conversation with President Biden, I directly expressed the full breadth of insight, heartfelt perspective, and conclusions about the path forward that the caucus has shared in our recent time together. Now, the caucus had a full meeting on Tuesday morning. They've also had separate meetings breaking out in smaller groups to discuss what to do about the president's future. Our colleague Jeff Zeleny getting some fresh reporting about that meeting between Jeffries and Biden, where Jeffries did not explicitly offer his endorsement of the president. Again, we are still trying to get additional details about this meeting, but very watched here on Capitol Hill, as a lot of Democrats have been waiting to see what their leadership would do and say to President Biden. Manu?
All right, Lauren Fox there with a key piece of reporting from my colleague Jeff Zeleny. Jeffries did not offer the president his endorsement in that meeting today. Thanks for that report. And later today, President Biden will head to that battleground state of Michigan, where he'll keep making the point that he's up for the job of beating Donald Trump in November. The question remains, is it too late? Arlette Saenz is in Detroit. And Arlette, tell us a little bit more about what we expect later today and anything else we know about this meeting that happened between Jeffries and the president, and the fact that the Democratic leader did not endorse the president.
Well, Manu, President Biden has said that he will just keep moving in this campaign despite the pressure within his own party from some for the president to step aside in this moment. Now, the president's advisors are well aware of the concerns within some parts of the Democratic Party. A top advisor to Biden, Steve Ricchetti, told lawmakers just yesterday that he promised he would relay the concerns, relay the insight and input that they were receiving from a meeting with the president directly. But for President Biden's part, he he is really trying to push forward with his campaign. The campaign scheduling several travel stops over the course of the next week. That includes spending time here in Michigan, then Texas on Monday, Nevada on Tuesday and Wednesday, all as he's trying to show voters that he is up for a second term in office. The president, I'm told, here in Michigan plans to really try to draw a contrast with former President Donald Trump when it pertains to policy. The president is eager to try to turn the attention back to Trump while he is trying to also save his own candidacy at this moment. Now, the president will be here in Michigan, joined by some elected officials in the state, people like Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist. You will also have Congresswomen Haley Stevens and Debbie Dingell at this event with Biden. But it is notable that at least one Michigan Democrat has called for President Biden to step aside in this race. That is Congresswoman Hillary Scholten, signaling some of the pressure that he might be facing here in the state. Now, the Biden campaign has argued in a memo just yesterday that they believe the so-called blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are the clearest path for President Biden to get the 270 electoral votes in November. So it really speaks to how critical the state of Michigan will be for President Biden as he continues to try to make his case not just to American voters that he's up for a second term, but also is trying to prevent any further Democratic defections coming from within his own party.
All right, signs in Detroit. Thanks for that. And while President Biden continues to lose congressional Democratic support, one of his closest allies in the House is still sticking with him.
Should the conversation about the president getting out of this race, should that conversation continue?
No, it shouldn't. George Clooney spilled the beans, baby. All these motherfuckers are lying. If they're riding with Biden, they're lying about Biden.
All in. I'm riding with Biden no matter what direction he goes, no matter what method he takes. I'm with Joe Biden. And if he were to change his mind, I'll just answer the question that I would be all in for the vice president.
All right, lots to break down with my great group of reporters this afternoon. Amy Walter of the Cook Political Report, CNN's Phil Mattingly, New York Times, Zolan Connor-Youngs, CNN's Eva McCann. Nice to see you all. All right, so he says he's running no matter what. We have additional Democrats coming out saying, no way. We have Hakeem Jeffries saying, not offering his endorsement. What exactly does that mean? We're still trying to learn, but seems significant. And now we have the New York Times reporting $90 million of money is going to be on hold. There were big donors going to give $90 million to this Biden super PAC that they pledged to give it to him, to that super PAC. No longer going to do that. Does that have an impact now on Joe Biden? That's not an insignificant sum of money.
I mean, look, just that amount of money, it's going to have an impact, when it comes to the momentum sort of behind him in the campaign. But I don't think when you talk to campaign officials and administration officials that they ever thought that this press conference would sort of quell immediately all of the dissent among Democrats. Just the fact that we're at this point in time right now, I think does show just sort of the...
Yo, do something good. Didn't play, baby.
Amount of anxiety that Democrats are feeling across the country when it comes to Joe Biden's candidacy. I mean, this is a party where...
These are kneecap bones that I'm giving Kaya right now, and they are, god damn, they stink. No, I mean, it smells pretty good. It actually smells like just regular fat. Like, it just smells like animal fat. It smells awesome. Like, it smells like something you would make broth with, basically. Depending on how hard she bites them, those knees wore...
Go fucking vegan, bitch.
Wore off my dog's canines real bad. Okay, well, it is full of cartilage and marrow. Seems pretty good. Here's some data for Biden to chew on. What a great segue. 4 years ago, Biden had a steady 9-point lead over Trump in the polls, which dropped to a 4.5 lead on election day. Yes, his big lead dropped by election day 2020. So what the hell is going to happen now when he's not even leading and hasn't led for a while? What's the plan, pro-Biden Dems? What's the plan to take the lead and win? Says Mehdi Hassan, who also has an independent journalism outlet now. Zeteo. Oh, this is, yeah. Data for Progress. New. We asked voters whether the questions of Biden's mental and cognitive fitness are mainly concerns of the Democratic voters who want to defeat Trump or out-of-touch elites. A majority don't think these questions are just elite concerns. Wait a minute. Out of black voters, 26%. Only 26% are saying it's out of touch elites, and 51% are saying questions about President Biden's mental and cognitive fitness are mainly the concern of Democratic voters who want to defeat Donald Trump. By the way, yeah. Once again, the 20 to 30% rule always. You can always get 20 to 30% of the American population to agree to anything, believe anything, say anything, really. Anyway, you know, just something to consider. It's just so strange to me. It's so strange to me that the narrative that they are trying to set here is the narrative that the Biden campaign is trying to set here is that, nah, it's only out-of-touch elites that are afraid of Biden. Like, actually, all black people love that the president is...
Like, when he says out-of-touch elite, who the fuck is he even talking about? It's a fantasy. Who? What elites? He's Joe Biden. He was vice president to Obama. He is in the Democratic leadership solidly. If he's got personal issues with those people, that's on fucking him. American public shouldn't give a fuck about that shit because he's with them. Holy fuck.
Okay, that's enough lives for your cause. Now you take some.
Yeah, elites. Yeah, elites. Who is he talking about? Fantasy bullshit. He's stupid.
800 years old.
Any criticism against the White House in year 1 and 2 was a pretty big deal if you came and went against the White House. And now we have a situation where donors, members of Congress.
Why are the Blue Anon crowd so convinced we want Trump to win? It's because that their one speech. That's all they know. That's it. That's literally all they know. I don't think you guys understand like how powerful of a narrative this has been, for how long of a narrative this has been. That's it. It's a thought terminating cycle. That's how they protect their identity and ego. Yeah, this is literally the same narrative against Bernie bros, or anytime someone steps out of line with whatever the neoliberal policy makers want within the Democratic Party. They have been so heavily conditioned to feel this way. Just like Donald Trump took advantage of the Republican conditioning on undocumented citizens, or the fact that undocumented migrants were like secretly and illegally voting for the Democratic Party. That narrative did not magically come to existence under the Trump regime. That already was set for decades prior to Donald Trump. He just basically leaned into it. January 6th is not simply the machinations of one narcissistic man. No matter how hard MSNBC tries to put the blame exclusively on Donald Trump, this is a reality that I stressed over and over and over again. Donald Trump cannot change the trajectory of the Republican Party. He can only lean into the trends and push them further. And that's precisely what he did. And in the same way, the Trumpian, blue MAGA, Biden dead enders are basically just reiterating the same commitment that they have to the top of the ticket, when we all know that they'll vote for whoever the
As we missed the top of the hour, 3-minute ad break.
Replaces Joseph Robinette Brandon.
If you came and went against the White House, and now we have a situation where donors, members of Congress.
Why does it say Joseph Robert F? If he's already got like a middle name Robert, why is the other one just F? It's so confusing. Maybe it's probably just a name.
Congress, Democrats across the country are expressing these concerns. So I don't think that it's a surprise that it's continued in the wake of that press conference. There were some flubs. You still had a president that still struggled to articulate sort of a coherent case for why he is the best person to be at the top of the ticket to beat Donald Trump. When he was asked about that, he pointed to his record in the first term rather than providing assurance for the future at this point, which is where the concern is. And I think you're probably going to see that continue in the days ahead here.
Yeah, and look, we heard Jim Clyburn there say that he was with Biden. We don't really know where Barack Obama is, Nancy Pelosi is. We do know
blue MAGA is a stupid term. It's not equivalent. It needs to be a different phrase, like blue balls or something. They don't want to kill country like red MAGA. Doesn't matter. No, I think it's a perfect term. The Democratic Party Brandon dead enders are operating in an identical cult-like manner to the hard Trump loyalists.
Yo, this contingent already existed, and I saw it with the idea that, like, when motherfuckers were saying that the only reason why Hillary lost was because of Russian interference. I was talking to a motherfucker, I'm like, yo, Hillary ran like the worst campaign ever. And he was like, no, Russian interference. Same shit. Gluing on.
The major difference, however, is that they will vote for whoever the Democratic Party's presidential candidate is, whether it's Joe Biden or someone else, whereas some in the MAGA loyalist fan base will not be voting for anybody but Trump.
From our colleagues reporting that they talked recently about their concerns about the campaign. How much is riding on what they ultimately decide here and forcing Joe Biden to make a decision about whether to stay in this race?
I mean, I think everything's riding on whether they decide to do something like that on some level, right? And I think and our colleagues, Isaac DeVera and Jeff Zeleny, had such a great kind of contextual breakdown of the news that they broke last night about the former speaker and the former president being in contact over this. And there's history here, and the idea that President Obama could go to President Biden and say, "You need to leave." Like, my sense of things, having covered this Biden White House.
Wait, so you're against voting for Biden? Said a chatter. I don't know if you're new here or not. I'm confused. What has Biden done that's against the liberal agenda? Biden hasn't done anything against the liberal agenda. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider to be the liberal agenda. But I don't know if you're new here or not. You might be. You've been following us since 2020. But I'm not exactly a fan of Biden outside of the situation that's unfolding for Biden. I have said over and over again that I will not be voting for Joseph Robinette Biden. You can vote for him if you want. Go ahead. You know, vote to your heart's vote till your heart is full with joy if you'd like to do that. My calculation is irrelevant in this situation. Okay, I am not a liberal, nor will I be voting for Joseph Robinette Brandon. Now, if you come in here and you say, "Oh my God, I'm voting for Donald Trump," well then you're a baboon. You're an idiot. Okay, your reach is influential though. No, it's not. In the grand scheme of things, my reach in 2016 was not as influential as you think it is. My reach in 2020 was not as influential as you think it is, okay? It is nothing in comparison to the multi-billion-dollar mainstream media apparatus. It is nowhere near as significant as the Democratic Party's influences and its reach is. I cannot undo the work of the Democratic Party in any meaningful capacity, okay? Bro, the vote difference is like 10K in swing states. What are you saying? You people are not understanding what I mean by this. I'm not saying I'm not influential in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply stating that no matter what, myself or so many other people, we get together in independent media, we get together and we're like, yeah, that's right, Biden, don't vote for Biden at all. Or vote for Biden. We have to vote for Biden. We must vote for Biden, no matter what our narrative is. It is nothing in comparison to the campaign and what they do. As a matter of fact, I urge people to vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I urge people to vote for Biden in 2020, but Hillary Clinton did not campaign appropriately. Do you see what I'm saying? Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate. The Democratic Party's decision-making in terms of its re-election chances are significantly more consequential, so much more important. If I had any sort of influence, I hope that it could be on the staffers that are close to Joe Biden, people within the DNC, potentially, which I don't have any influence over anyway, so that they could do something that will, you know, greatly improve their chances of winning. Many of you, of course, have horse blinders on in terms of the prominence and influence that this community has. It's fine. It's nice of you to think that. But ultimately, you cannot ever, even CNN could not ever legitimately change the trajectory of the Democratic, the DNC. The mainstream media would barely be able to make a dent in the campaign and what they want to do. I get so sad when you go emo on us like this. No, it's not. It's not me being emo. It's just me being realistic. By the way, this is another thing that I clocked, but 24 million people watched Biden's NATO presser. That is half the viewers of the debate. The vast majority were over 55, over the age of 55. That's crazy. This is troublesome. It means that a lot of people are paying attention to the election cycle now, and they're paying attention because they want to see whether Biden is competent or not. But they're going to think he nailed it? No. What? Those people still heard Biden say, those people literally heard Biden openly say Kamala Harris is Vice President Trump. What are you talking about? No, there's still plenty of people. There's still plenty of people that heard him spectacularly. Also, none of those people give a shit about NATO. So the issues that he was actually coherent on, sure, he demonstrated competence, but those aren't necessarily issues that they care about.
Very closely, is Biden would probably say, remember when you told me that in 2016? And then we lost, Democrats lost to Donald Trump, so I don't know how it's going to work. I think Democrats have been waiting for those leaders of their party, Clyburn being among them. There's like a core group of 4 or 5, whether it's Pelosi, it's Obama, it's Schumer, it's Clyburn, it's Jeffries, to kind of get together and go down to the White House and deliver their message. And I don't know that that's how it works. And I also don't know that that has an effect on President Biden, which is something that everybody's factoring in. And that brings me to the question that I've been asking throughout the course of the last 24 hours. To any Democrat I talk to who wants Biden to step aside, tell me how this ends. Tell me what is going to get you from this point to that point. Because no one can fill in that blank right now. Yeah. And if they can't, and they never do, then he's the candidate.
And that basically benefits Biden. And a lot of the concerns are, if you get rid of him, then we need ballot access issues for the new candidate. It's a mess, and which is why a lot of other members are not coming out and calling Biden to step aside. What do you listen to what Biden said yesterday about what would actually cause him to step aside?
Senator Senior, basically you will not vote for Biden. It's essentially a vote for Trump. Oh my God, I'm not gonna relitigate this over and over again, okay? Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, please. Shut the fuck up.
About whether he has a path to the presidency again.
Like, yeah, dude, I can in good conscience. No, not that if I live in California, even if I lived in Ohio, suck my dick, okay? What do you mean? By the way, I love anarcho-sin. Great response, but it's the truth. Okay, dude. Great. Well, I'm not voting for Trump either. So, you know, I guess I'm voting for Biden that way. There we go. Argument destroyed. You happy? You good? I love the anarcho-syndicalist. In our system, as unfortunate as it is, a vote for Biden is a vote in favor of Trump. No one admits he's a great candidate. Oh, okay. Well, then a vote against Trump is a vote for Biden then, isn't it? I never said I'm voting for Trump. As a matter of fact, I said if you say that you're going to vote for Trump, I'll urge against that, and I will tell you exactly why you shouldn't do that. Oh, it only works in one direction. If you vote for Biden, then it's a vote against Trump. Okay, so it doesn't work in the other direction. It just works in only one direction. Okay, never mind. I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying. You started out by saying, you saying you won't vote for Biden is a vote for Trump. And then I said, well, I won't vote for Trump either, so I guess that's a vote for Biden. And we're back to square one. A vote against Biden is a vote for Trump. A vote against Trump is a vote for Biden then, right? No, we are not back to square one just because you say we are. Okay. If a vote against Biden is a vote for Trump, a vote against Trump is a vote for Biden. Don't be coy. You understand the system perfectly well. Yes, I do. You're saying a vote against Biden is a vote for Trump. I'm saying a vote against Trump is a vote for Biden. I don't think you understand the points that you are trying to make. If you vote for Biden, yes. If I vote for Trump, then also yes. But I'm not. That's 2 votes. That's illegal. You're going to jail. Anyway, this is like fighting a passive-aggressive retail manager. Yeah. Fantastic democracy you got there with 2 choices with the same politics. Yeah. It's a bad faith argument. I know it's a bad faith argument. It's one that liberals try to deploy all the time. It's silly, okay? And it's not even necessarily about like just the genocide in Gaza, okay? I'm not a liberal, but thanks. Oh, you are, baby. Let me tell you, okay? Lesser evil voting posturing, especially in the eve of Biden literally adopting the entire position of the 2020 Trump election on immigration beyond all the others. He is not even lesser evil voting. It's just evil voting at that point. And I've been speaking of Gaza and Palestinian right to self-determination before you ever knew how to spell the name Palestine. Oh, man. I am not a liberal. Boomer chatter checks out. Yeah. I've said this before, and I will say it again. If you want Biden to win, you shouldn't be climbing up this tree, okay? You should be smiling and dialing. You should be, because you're such a brave advocate for the Palestinians, you should probably be calling up as many elected representatives as you possibly physically can to urge Biden to change course. Maybe even urge him to drop out. You're not using your time wisely, okay? If you want to play with one-liners that hype your chat, good, but you know very well voting against Biden when there are only two viable candidates is a vote for Trump. Okay, once again, it's not a one-liner. I'm literally saying that voting against or not voting for Biden is a vote for Trump, and therefore not voting for Trump is a vote for Biden. I don't think you can comprehend this. I don't think a single person has turned around and ever told this to you. But right now you're short-circuiting a little bit, okay? So I guess I am voting for Biden by not voting for Trump. You know very well that it's not true because voting against Trump for a third party, I never said I'm voting for a third party. It's not a vote for Biden. It removes the potential. What's good? It removes the potential vote to be casted in favor. What do you mean a potential vote to be casted in favor of Biden? It is essentially a wasted vote. This is not how elections work in general. No matter how hard liberals like this anarcho-liberal is claiming it should work, okay? Democrats, just like Republicans, no, that is not how it works at all. The broader electorate is not going to make these calculations, okay? People do not operate with the same personal convictions that you operate with. You have to earn people's vote. Otherwise, this is not a democratic society nor a democratic system. As an anarchist, you should care about this, right? Saying, sorry, this is God ordained and you must vote for, blue MAGA over red MAGA doesn't change that equation, okay? I am not making these calculations for them. I never said you shouldn't vote for Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, I said, go ahead. Even when you approached me, I said, go ahead, vote till your heart is full. If you want to vote for Brandon, you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. If you want to vote for Biden, go ahead, okay? But I'm always going to be honest with you. You are not going to be able to convince me nor anyone else in this community, I suspect, with this kind of rhetoric, okay? You should be working to convince those who you can convince, okay? I'm voting for Mr. Beast. Is that a good idea? Fuck yeah, it's a good idea. RFK supporter coded language. If you think I'm voting for RFK, you must be RFK the way you're on different forms of heroin, okay? No, the chatter friend. Oh, you got the same brainworms that has if you think I'm voting for RFK. Anyway, let's continue.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said,
I thought you would engage in lesser evil voting. When did you change your mind? Listen, I've been doing lesser evil voting every election cycle for my professional media career and far before that. Okay, lesser evil voting is the reason why these guys can posture in the way that they do. It is a failed procedure. It is a failed attitude. It doesn't matter. That's why I say it doesn't matter. You can do it. You can do lesser evil voting. It's correct. Okay, it's correct. But it's just not going to change the trajectory of the Democratic Party. It didn't after 2016. I did lesser evil voting then. It didn't after 2020. I did lesser evil voting then. No, my advice is not to just don't participate and speed up in the process. I'm just saying, if you want to vote for Biden, you can. Go ahead, pop off, kings and queens. Who's the best candidate for Palestine? Right now, what do you say? There's no best candidate for Palestine.
Literally.
Both viable candidates for Palestine as it stands is a dog shit. There's no real pro-Palestinian candidate. I am not an accelerationist.
there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
Okay, does no poll say that? I mean, you guys had, you guys looked at the map and looked at number of states that are moving in the wrong direction for Biden. there's not a path according to that map at this moment. Is no poll saying that he can win?
No. I mean, it's more that has been clear even before the debate. Let's be honest, that those Sunbelt states were going to be tough for him. And the debate, this is the whole thing, the debate was his opportunity to put those back on the map. And it's hard now to argue that, oh boy, I've laid out my case so clearly and confidently to the public and to the voters that are undecided that we can put those back in. And the fact that the campaign basically agreed with that assessment, saying we just got to go get the blue wall, tells you what you need to know. So I think what we're looking at is a map.
The argument I'm seeing from chatters is that they're mad at you because you're not campaigning for Biden, which in their eyes means Trump wins. And then their anxiety kicks in and start lashing out. Yeah. Wait till they start talking about how privileged I am. And as a rich person, I will not be seeing the worst consequences of the Trump administration. Here, let me give you some talking points. It's classic. Hassan doesn't care about the actual working class. Hassan doesn't care about the working class at all. He serves a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. What better example is out there? Go ahead, dude. Say it. I don't give a shit.
That was sick. 10 out of 10.
I'm waiting for black people, my people, to be blamed because we didn't 100% vote for Biden. Yeah. Now you got the commies mad at you for defending the squad. I know there's that too. Everybody is mad. Now, what are you gonna do? That doesn't stop me from advocating for what I believe is the correct position before, and it won't start.
Even though I'm like
now.
one of them, but they
won't start now.
I'll speak for them right now.
I'll use the Brandon technique. See, he's doing it. Privileged to refuse to even vote. Also, you should always vote, 100%. I'm not anti-voting at all. I am very much pro-voting. Anyone that says I'm anti-voting is delusional, and either they've been clip-chimped or they are bad faith in their commentary. I love voting. That's not a joke. I'm not being sarcastic at all. Yeah. I love voting. I come when I vote. Every time I'm like, yeah, okay? Especially for down ballot races, especially for ballot measures. You know, that's hugely, hugely important. It's Oat Meek's birthday. Happy birthday, Oat Meek. Yeah.
That now is narrower for Biden, though it's been pretty narrow, I think, for the last couple of months.
I don't know who that is, but I love him.
And to Phil's point about tell me where we go from here, what is the case that Biden makes and how effective is he?
What is this?
Democrats to lose, understandably. A lot of people want the Democrats to be punished and to suffer a historic and humiliating defeat. And white liberals are very tense, right? They're like, is that what you really want? Is that what you really want? You want Trump to come back? You want Trump to win? What I want is for you to not lecture us on how to respond to a genocide you didn't try to stop, okay? You think that's a good idea? You think that's a good idea for your community? Because it's your community that's going to suffer if Trump comes back. People like you are going to suffer. What do you think of that? I think that a political system that ultimately makes you choose between genocidal dementia and cheeseburger-powered fake tan Hitler is a system worth overthrowing, okay? Maybe that is the conclusion you should be coming to instead of lecturing black and brown people on why they don't worship the Democrats, okay?
It's also so funny when they're like, oh, Trump is going to deport your people. It's like, yeah, what are you going to do? Because it doesn't seem like you give a shit at all. As a matter of fact, it's just about your team winning. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait until Trump comes back and deports your people. It's like, excuse me, what? I'm sorry. Oh, what do you mean you can't wait? Hello? Liberals are like, no, you don't understand. I want my guy to do the deportations 4 years later. I want the guy I voted for to do the deportations, but like 4 years later. You know what I mean? I don't want the other guy to do the deportations now. I want you to have 4 extra years in the country, and then my guy will deport you. And I also want you to shut up when you're doing the deportations and say thank you. Please, sir, can I have some more? That's what I want you to say during the deportations process.
Democratic Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina was one of the keys to President Biden's success in 2020, throwing his support behind the president, the Palmetto State's critical primary, which a lot of folks say put Mr. Biden on the path to the White House.
Do you see voting for Biden as worshiping Democrats and people just lesser evil vote? Democrats will be molded? No. Dude. This part is also wrong. Make no mistake. There are a lot of people who think, oh, we'll teach the Democrats a lesson if we don't vote for them. That's not true either. I need you to understand something very important. The Democrats are not learning a single lesson from you not voting for them, okay? Oh, we're going to vote for Joe Biden. Oh, I'm going to vote for PSL. I'm going to vote for Cornel West. And that'll show the Democrats. That'll teach them a lesson. No, they won't. They won't learn that shit at all. That's why I say vote to, your heart's content, okay? The Democrats ain't learning no goddamn lessons from you voting for Jill Stein. What are you kidding me? Did I say Joe Biden? Fuck, I'm brandining out right now. If they learned that lesson, they would have learned it in 2016. Did they learn it in 2016? Fuck no, absolutely not.
The enemy is attacking Zone B.
Pretty funny though to think, yeah, dude, the Democrats are gonna learn a lesson. Yeah, because they want to win really bad.
Congressman Clyburn is with us this morning for an exclusive conversation. Congressman, always good to see you.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
If that is true, then why not let people vote? That's what I'm saying. If you want to do that, do it. I don't think chatters hear what I'm saying. They want black and white commentary on this issue, and it's like, I'm not stopping you. The only thing I'll put my foot down on is if you're saying you're gonna vote for Donald Trump, because that's ridiculous. No, I get it. It's just depressing. My motivation to not vote Biden was to try and make some changes of some sort. Yeah, good luck.
Let's start with this news conference last night. Again, the news conference was supposed to allay concerns that a lot of folks have, many of them within your own party, about the president's ability to do the job. He starts by confusing his vice president with former President Trump. That was just a few hours after he confused President Putin with President Zelensky. Did he allay those concerns last night?
Well, those of us who are real close watchers of Joe Biden, we do know that he sometimes mangled words and phrases, but all of that is almost natural for people who grew up stuttering, and they do focus a little more. And when you focus a little more, you tend to lose the flow.
But you're not saying that what we've seen.
It's pretty funny how old Clyburn is. It's just like, obviously, he's less senile than Joe Biden, but it is like, it's just, they're putting out all the best and brightest in the Democratic Party, you know?
From this president over the last few weeks is just a function of him stuttering. I mean, it's more than that.
He doesn't stutter now. He is still working to overcome the stuttering of his childhood. I've been around that condition for a long time, and I know exactly how it operates. But he has one of the best minds that I've ever been around. And the people who've been around him will tell you that. And so I would hope that we will focus on the substance of this man rather than these sometimes misspoken words and phrases and how he run this country.
But, Congressman, you've got 17 Democrats. One of them is sitting U.S. Senator who have called on their president to step aside. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi 2 days ago saying, quote, it's up to the president to decide if he's going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. That is not a full-throated endorsement from your friend and former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Should the conversation about the president getting out of this race, should that conversation continue?
No, it shouldn't.
The conversation should be over.
No, the conversation should focus on the record of this administration, on the alternative to his election, and let Joe Biden continue to make his own decisions about his future. He's earned that right, and I am going to give him that much respect. If he decides to change his mind,
Going to text-to-speech doesn't work, dude. Do a chargeback. Okay. If you want to say something in the chat and have me read it, just write it, dummy. Like, what do you mean? Why are you freaking out? Yeah. Have you noticed any sort of text-to-speech? Check my previous messages. Oh my God. Read my messages. Who to vote for? Does voting in the USA change anything? Okay, stop. I'm not answering your question.
And later on, then we will respond to that. We have until the 19th of August to open our convention. And so I would hope that we'll spend our time now focusing on the record that we remind the American people of what is in store for them if Project 2025 were to become a law in any form. That is where our focus ought to be.
But Congressman, again, how is this a candidate? How is this a candidacy or candidate that can remain viable if you literally have a Democrat every day calling on him to drop out of the race? Down ballot Democrats are going to be answering questions day in and day out about the president's mental acuity. How is that a campaign that can be successful?
Well, Joe Biden is focused on the future of this country. And I always say the best predictor of future performance is past behavior. Let's continue to compare the past behavior of Joe Biden to the past behavior of his opponent, Donald Trump. And let that be a guide to our reactions going forward. And I think if we do that, we will give the American people exactly what they need to make the choice for our children and grandchildren. That's what this campaign is all about. It's about whether or not we're going to have a viable democracy.
But you recognize there are a lot of folks in this country, many of whom in your own party, who don't think this is the same Joe Biden that we saw 4 years ago. You've known him for decades. You're traveling with him next week. You've spent more time with the president than just about anybody else in the House. Is this the same Joe Biden that we saw 2 years ago?
Well, look, I grew up...
Is it the same Joe Biden?
No. I'm not the same Jim Clyburn that I was 4 years ago. And given a few, 10 more days?
You'll be 84.
I'll be 84 years old. That's the 45th anniversary of my 39th birthday, however. It's not another birthday.
Yeah, genuine demon, by the way. Just a real fucking demon. I hate Jim Clyburn so much. Overseeing one of the fucking poorest districts in America, in the pocket entirely of big pharma, a massive opponent for Medicare for all and any kind of socialized health care. Just such a bad person. He is like legitimately a bad person. Pure evil. He's also a traitor to the Democrats and no one cares. Facing the possibility of an unsafe district, South Carolina's most powerful Democrat sent his aide to consult with the GOP on a redistricting plan that diluted black voting strength and harmed his party's chances of gaining seats in Congress. I don't even know this. He's a...
So hi YouTube. It's me and the kitty. This is Rocky. Hi. You go. You want a treat? I'll get you a treat. I'm waiting for my buddy John Slott. Stabby McStabbersons. We're gonna rock some men. Getting in the dig. You dig. My mic isn't loud enough, is it? Here. This loud as fuck. Hello. Okay. Woo. Pretty good. Hello. Hello.
Check. Hello.
What's
How you doing?
up?
Not too much. Oh, I had a little bit of a freak out. A little while ago, I tried to turn my television on, the one that I used for gaming, and it would not turn on. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Whoa,
It was working last night.
What happened?
I don't know. I unplugged it, replugged it, still didn't turn on. I replaced the batteries in the controller, it still didn't turn on. Then I checked the plug to the TV itself, which seemed fine. I wiggled it to drop a little bit. I pulled it out, put it back in, and then I don't think it turned on right away. But then I pressed, I just kind of got mad and just pressed a bunch of buttons on the controller at the same time, and then the TV turned on. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh
Made no
God!
sense.
Goddamn technology!
So,
I've become an advocate for the machine gods and the machine spirits from Warhammer 40,000. There's this sect that just worships machines, and I'm starting to believe it.
They're entities of which we have little control.
Yes, indeed.
Oh man.
But I'm glad you're around. Sorry, I'm back on the voodoo. Back.
No, no judgment here, man.
Thank you.
No judgment.
Oh my goodness, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm also streaming. I'll send you a link to. It's full on live. We can hear your voice. When I say we, I'm talking about just me because there's literally no one watching. I'm going to send you a link real quick so you to review it afterwards.
Sure thing.
Mostly just I've been playing XDEFIANT for the last couple of hours, but there you go. All right, there you go. There is.
So I'm 2 guns away from the camo being complete.
What, you're 2 guns?
Yeah.
You're done with the grind. 2 guns. Which guns?
Almost. Well, I don't know. I was kind of flipping between a few, and the LMG, I think it's called the Pouliot or something like that. Anyway, that one, it's a bitch because you got to get I think 10, 5 kills without dying or whatever. I'm like, man, that's going to be a bitch. I was having a lot of trouble with that one. So then I switched over to one of the newer assault weapons, I think. I'm getting a little bit of echo here.
I'm sorry. Let me turn down the here. How's this?
I'll let you know. So right now I switched over to the DG56 assault rifle, which I'm enjoying, and I gotta level it up still. Or wait a second, I'm already leveled up. I'm just doing the camo grind on that, but making progress. Yeah, it seems like that'll be easier to do. What pissed me off yesterday was one of the melee weapons. What is it? The Soul Render, the sword.
Yeah.
Which I like. I'm on the last camo, that one, before I'm finished. I'm working on priceless for that. I have 5 of 15, so I'm like, 1/3 of the way there. I gotta get 15 kills from behind with this thing, right? I'm like, oh, that won't be bad. You know what I mean? So I'm running around yesterday, and I must have killed like 15 easy. Over the course of an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm totally behind them. They're not looking at me at all. They're dead. I killed them. It's not counting.
It's not. I know what's going on. Because when you go for the
blueprint?
when you go for the kill,
no,
when you know how when you go for the kill, you go into that hole, like they turn around, you stab them up. That will not count as a from behind. You can't kill them that way. You have to figure out. I forgot how I did it. I figured this out, but you have to kill them without them turning around, without going into that animation.
So you just maybe hold the button down instead of just kind of hitting it once, because I think I'm just hitting it once.
Maybe, but if they go into that animation where you turn them around and you slice them a couple times, it will not count. It will not count.
Man,
I know that for sure. That fucked me up too.
God, I wonder how I got 5. I just was like, well, I may as well level
I
this
think
guy
there's
up.
a way to
This should
swing
be
or a
done
way
real
to
quick.
attack without actually doing it, but it's been a while. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't.
I'll play with it. Yeah.
But definitely, but if you get them into that
Alright.
animation where they spin around and you slice them a couple times, that shit does not count for a kill from behind.
Oh man, that's lame. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, at least I have an idea what's going on.
All right. Yeah.
That helps.
If
Alright,
there's a way
let's
to
go,
figure
man.
out,
I'm gonna fucking.
yeah, Jesus.
Damn.
And what else are you working on? You said you got that, and which LMG?
Yeah.
You having a problem with an LMG? You said.
Yeah. Let me go back to it so I can tell you what. LMG. Pulum yacht.
Okay. Sure.
762. Yeah, so I'm on priceless for that. I only got 4 of 10. You got to get 5 operator kills with 1 magazine 10 times.
1 magazine.
5 kills with 1 magazine. I'm like, fuck, I don't know.
That's
I can get
pretty
it, but it'll
rough.
just take forever.
Yeah, I think I may have skipped something like that too.
Yeah, I'm skipping. I think I'm skipping that because
that's pretty rough.
Like it's going to take forever.
I mean, it's. I don't know. If I was going to do that,
match where the other team sucks super bad.
Yeah, maybe a small map situation. You might be able to just rip and tear, like Doom style. But I don't know. That's a pretty tall order.
So anyway, I'm gonna just go through this assault rifle, and I'll try that Soul Render and mess around with the way I'm killing.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I did. But I know that there was something. It was definitely like if you go into the animation, they're looking at you and it doesn't count as a kill from behind. Super sucks.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But holy shit, let me look at the daily challenges. I haven't even. Launchers, god damn it. Fires, claymores, go. All my faves. See if I even got a launcher loadout. I literally just use the RPG-7 for like every launcher challenge. Hit fire and claymores. Oh, crystal. Fuck. 1 second, sorry. Any more on this setup? Launchers, hip fire. Okay, cool. Do you have any? I was actually thinking about checking out this Get Higher map.
Yeah,
it's a new map.
I think. Yeah.
It's 6v6. And
I think I played it once.
It's based off of. I don't know if you ever played the Get Higher mode, where basically all it is kind of like a climb up climb up a tower. Basically, it's not even like a shoot 'em up mode. But it looks really cool.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, well, we could try it.
yeah, I'm down.
I was on there once, I believe.
All right, cool. I haven't checked it out yet. I've heard about it a couple days ago.
It was pretty fun. There's some like floors that move and blocks that move up and down, and
that's fun. But I think that there's like some kind of really cool camo that comes with it. I gotta check it out. 1 second.
I forgot what it was called, but I played one match of something that they mess around with silly things in the game. So it's like the normal maps, but I don't know. Like they have one of the cool things is like you if you jump, you have like low gravity, so you can float.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That made it kind of interesting. I only played one match of that because.
Do you remember the name of the mosh pit?
No, I don't. If I saw it, I recognize.
Check out this Get Higher map. Whoa, this is kind of fun. Oh wait, are we? This is we're in the race mode. We don't even kill each other.
This looks different.
Yeah, we just run. This one. Okay. You can shoot targets. This kind of reminds me of Fall Guys or Super Mario 64.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm dead.
Are we supposed to be shooting stuff? Oh,
No, we gotta make it. We gotta get higher. We gotta get to the tops.
Okay, all right. What are we doing? Follow the footsteps.
But you can't. There are targets that you can shoot.
Oh my god, I'm getting lost.
Ugh.
Checkpoint unlocked. Okay. Ooh, whoa. What happened? Oh. Now what? I'll jump again. Whoa, what's going on here?
It's pretty funny that we're actually playing this map. This is not what the map I thought we were gonna play. I thought there was like an actual like 6v6 shoot 'em up map. This is kind of fun. I'll change up. I have no idea what. Oh my god!
I just fell and died.
Shit. Okay. Oh my god! I hate this. I hate this so much.
Yeah, I hated the Doom challenges were like this. We had to definitely land right. Oh.
Yep. Oh my god. Yeah, Doom Doom Eternal was the perfect example of the Mario 64 challenges. And this is just like that.
Oh my god.
The 3D platformer is what they call this.
Oh man, this got it. What?
Get out of this. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Oh god.
Okay.
Nerve-wracking.
How do we get off this shit?
It's not a game to play if you're like afraid of heights.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god, is this? Oh my god, I just keep dying over and over again. Oh, Jesus. Oh, don't move. Mode, I hate this.
Yeah, this is horrible. We should play Fall Guys sometimes. It's like this, but more fun.
It'd be more fun than this. Oh, man. I don't know what it is about this section I'm on right here. Totally screwed. Oh, yeah. I just keep dying.
You are getting like basically like an entire lifetime of Nintendo gameplay doing this right now. If you missed Nintendo 64, you're fine now because you're experiencing it right now.
Yeah. Great.
Good.
And we had oh shit. I can't do this.
Oh god damn.
We had the first Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. The 2D platformers. Yeah, the 3D platformers came in the 90s. With the 64-bit. Oh my god, I am getting just creamed.
Match ever end.
I don't know, I'm looking for a timer. It might not ever end.
We're doomed to play this for
Yeah, for eternity.
Okay, finally got through it. Jesus. It never ends. Here. Oh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Falling to my death in an hour. Getting fed up with this. Oh man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying to get stuff. You just don't move your fingers at all. Jump and oh no, they sent me back there. Oh, I moved on from this. Oh shit.
The enemy holds the lead. Clock's ticking.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm fucked. You want to get out of here?
Yeah, that's
Let's go shoot some people.
all right. Yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah. I'm here. Sweet.
Okay, cool.
Get higher mosh pit. Let's see what this is. Mosh pit of modes in 6v6. Yes. Okay. Yes. Domination. All right. Cool. I think this is this we want. Queue confirmed. This is a fun choice. Literally same map.
Yeah, right. Your choice is that you have no choice.
Exactly. So go ahead and choose.
Isn't it the great band Rush that said, if you choose not to decide, you have still made a choice?
Speaking of choices, when the hell is Biden gonna get out, man? Every time Biden White House is like, it's over, no more discussions, someone else comes out. A senator or representative, like, yo, you should go.
Yeah. I mean, he's making verbal gaffes left and right now. I mean, he always did, but I think
it's getting better.
Called himself, like he said he was the first black woman. He called himself a black woman or something by accident.
He said the vice president was Trump or something.
Yeah, that's, and Putin, he called Zelensky Putin.
That was pretty bad.
Time to go, Grandpa.
The physics feel different on this man. Everything's slower. Am I just crazy?
Yeah, it kind of seems that way, doesn't it? Maybe just appears that way.
I don't know. It's weirding me out.
I don't know. Oops. When you run on neon blocks, the impression is that you're moving slower. I have no idea.
Oh. God, yeah, this is weird. I don't like this at all. I'm gonna be honest. Might just be the voodoo, but I'm not feeling this.
I just did a soul render. I held the button. The guy still spun around.
Weird.
Reloading.
I'm gonna have to do something else. I don't know. Maybe hold the.
Reloading. Taking mics.
Okay, and I just smacked the trigger, and the guy turned around as well. What do I have to do?
All this.
Don't shoot me, you dark bastard.
Confirmed.
Attack me!
Oh man.
Claymore! On your six.
Everything I seem to do with this soul runner spins them around. Maybe I gotta aim as I hold down the aim button. Ooh, that could be it.
Do you kill without the
Aiming.
animation?
Maybe, I don't know. Seemed different when I placed in the air. Let's see. Yeah, I think that might have worked.
How many more do you need?
Like, 10. Not a whole lot.
If you can get that kill without them, without going into animation, it definitely counts.
Well, I did get an animation, but he didn't sit around and look at me. I don't know if that maybe they had to get extra attention. Seemed like he accepted his death without turning around.
Don't shoot me! Legs.
Yeah, I think that does it, yeah. Let's see. Triple kill. How about that?
Your every breath is a gift from me. Mission time is half over. On your six.
Stitched up! Legs.
Got him on the run. Keep up the chase.
Yeah, here we go. I think that's it. You gotta aim.
Cool.
I mean, that's all it was. I wouldn't think to hit aim while I'm slicing. But I would. Or if I need, anyway.
Multiple threats here.
The mission is complete. Good work.
Skill. Used to believe it. I did.
You did?
Just a hip fire. Oh, hey, how you doing? There you go. Team top 3. That's how we do. Salami. El Salami. God, these kids.
Gotta see if this counted.
These kids these days are funny. We're cooler than kids. I just want you to know. Gen Xers and millennials, cooler than kids. These kids are nerds.
Got it cool locked up, man.
Yeah, we do. They'll never get it back.
All right. Counting. I got it. I figured it out. Thanks to your help.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Sweet. Hey, I'm going to go run use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay. Yep.
All right. Still got you.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm gonna suggest we jump on a small map mosh pit. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's cool.
I wasn't feeling that. God, thank God it's Friday. I am ready for Friday.
Yeah, do you work today, didn't you?
Yeah, I work today, and I am so not working tomorrow. Everyone's going for God's house. I'm all about that. Got going on this weekend? Anything special?
I actually had a. Oh, this weekend? Yeah, tomorrow actually I'm headed out to my friend in Elmhurst with my brother. We're gonna do a jam, which means mainly we're just gonna be drinking beer.
Nice.
That's tomorrow's plan. And no, I think that's it.
Right
on. We're still, by the way, we're on the 27th, if that's all good, the Saturday.
Yeah, at the at Reggie's.
If the what's that?
Wait, I'm sorry. You broke up there.
I just said Rachel and I were still planning on visiting you on the 27th, the Saturday.
Awesome.
Like not this weekend, but next weekend. I think it's next weekend. No, the one after that.
27th. Cool. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the weather. Yeah, if the weather's good and everything, whatever.
Excellent.
I know the Cubs are out of town.
Perfect. Yeah, no big deal. I mean, if
craziness.
you can go check out the lakefront, and there's a couple places around if you guys want to feel like getting a drink or something.
Yeah, sure.
I'm thinking about maybe hitting up the Holiday Club there on Irving Park in Sheridan. I haven't been there yet. I might be alright.
I think there used to be a place called Holiday. I don't know if it was Holiday Club or. There was one in, I think it was Wicker Park or Ukrainian Village a long time ago. Different, I'm sure. Ooh.
We're losing Alpha. Objective Alpha is compromised. Securing objective Bravo. Fire! Can't put me down. Bravo, secure. We're on the same side. Friendly Overwatch team inbound. We're taking Alpha. Hostile UAV in the area. Taking fire. Friendly Mosquito deployed. We control 2 objectives. Enemy
Of course, I run into the guy with the shield when I don't have my Soul Render ready to go. Here he is.
Yeah.
He just went down. Oops, it's our guy.
Oh, another fire!
I'm just trying to keep playing more kills. For some reason, that's the hardest thing to do in this game.
How many kills do you need?
2. Yeah, big old donut so far.
You just need double kills?
No, Claymore. Just a couple Claymore kills.
Oh, I see.
And,
Claymores, oh yeah.
They're horrible. Horrible. Most worthless lethal you can possibly.
Don't mess with Stabby.
We're secured. Objective Bravo is compromised. Get it back. We're taking Bravo. RPG incoming. Enemy active. Securing objective Bravo.
So you're gonna be out of town tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be out in Elmhurst. I think we're gonna go out there fairly early.
If you're on, let me know. If not, I get that.
We're taking Charlie.
Ooh.
Hostile SAE near your position. Hostile RPG incoming. Securing objective Charlie. We're taking Bravo. We're taking Charlie. Securing objective Charlie. Bravo. We're losing Alpha. Charlie, secure. Taking Alpha. We're taking Bravo. We're losing Charlie. Securing objective Bravo. Objective Charlie is compromised.
Was that a kill from behind?
I think so.
Another fire. Securing objective. Switching max. Deployed. Incoming. Halfway to mission. Setting clear. Compromised. We're loading fresh mag. Charlie secure. RPG incoming. You heard. Bravo.
Still got the mosquito on my shit.
Enemy is securing
Turn
Charlie.
it off.
Hold all objectives. Do not. We're losing Charlie. We're losing Alpha. Setting Claymore. Objective Alpha is compromised. Get it back. Hi, close one. Changing map. Securing objective Alpha. Right back. Alpha. Enemy securing Bravo. We control two objectives.
Slicing them and dicing.
Enemy is taking Bravo. Objective Bravo is compromised. Get it back. Loading fresh mag. Active. Securing objective Bravo. Objective Bravo secured.
Just saw one of our guys go literally over the railing. Just like jump backwards facing me and dive off a diving board.
Objective Bravo is compromised. We're taking Alpha. Can't put me down. We're taking Bravo. Hostile unit in the area. Control Bravo.
Multiple enemies here.
Enemy is securing Charlie. Enemy is taking Bravo. We're taking Alpha. Friendly mosquito active. Setting claim. Mosquito active.
Is that our guy? Oh, duh.
Taking Alpha. Securing objective Bravo. Objective Alpha is compromised. Friendly UAV online. We're taking Alpha. We're taking Bravo. Mosquito deployed. Objective Bravo. Friendly Mosquito active.
Enemy in the area.
Check your fire. Securing Objective Alpha. We're taking Alpha. Under fire. Securing Objective Alpha. We've secured 2 objectives. Setting Claymore. We're taking Alpha.
Contact.
I don't fire warning shots. Enemy KIA. Holding fresh mag. Under fire. Securing Objective Alpha. We're losing Charlie. Objective Charlie is compromised. Get it back. We're taking Alpha. Securing Bravo. Enemy Overwatch Yellow inbound. Enemy is taking Bravo. The enemy is losing Alpha. We're on the same side.
All right.
The mission is complete. Good work.
Hell yeah. Still got 0 Claymore kills.
Oh man.
Despite laying them all over them.
Hey, can you pause it for 1 second? I gotta respond to one of my sister's texts.
Sure.
She's
Oh my goodness. Okay, sure.
that's something that'll just take me. No, I'll just take me 1 minute.
Worries.
My sister's just freaking out because she's like, no, she hasn't talked to my dad. His brother is supposed to be my uncle, is supposed to be in town, and they were going to go to lunch tomorrow or something. And she was going to be there. I guess she was calling to find out what time and stuff, but he didn't answer his phone. And my other uncle called, and he didn't return the message. I don't know. I didn't know his schedule. I don't know his, he could be on an outing or something. No, I don't know.
Well, I'm glad it just wasn't something about or something.
Yeah, well, that's another easy. What did she send the other day? There was something super stupid about, like this guy's talking about, it's like I think it was a TikTok, real brief. This guy's talking about avian flu and how only 2 people in the United States or the world ever got avian flu. And then he goes on to say, but if you want to protect yourself from avian flu, you should use this blend of some kind of weird tea and sativa and cook with this certain cooking oil. I'm like, what on earth? You just told me that, like, I don't know, basically literally no one on the planet has to worry about this thing, but then yet you have a remedy for it? I'm like, well, I didn't even know what the hell why is she sending me this?
It's like, thanks.
Yeah, like, like he just basically contradicted himself. Like, you don't have to worry about this, but here's the cure for it.
Yeah, they might be
What?
running out of shit. Let's see. Headshots only. Shit. I'm down for one more match because I've been drinking.
All right.
I think I'm.
Yeah.
Good.
Sounds good.
I
haven't done any of my.
I'm gonna see if I can get these Claymore kills. If I don't.
All right, I just need 2 more kills from behind, and I got priceless on that.
2 more kills?
Yep. I'll call that a win.
Hard point.
I was on this map a lot yesterday. It kept coming up.
Oh, shoot awesome. This is a good map.
I like this map. Yeah.
Classic 3-lane.
Confirming next hard point. Stand by.
Setting Claymore. Hostile eliminated.
Move to the hard
Creeping up on somebody, trying to will them not to turn around. Do not turn around. Do not turn around.
Use the force.
Yeah. No, I'm not here. I guess I could use like those. I think there's ninja boots in this game that when you walk, you don't make any sound.
Yeah.
I should have thought of that. I should have thought of that earlier. Oh, well.
friendly mosquito deployed. Relocating. Stand by.
Switching mags.
Hardpoint relocated. Secure the target area.
Yeah, one more to go. Go. Yeah.
Ammo here. Setting Claymore.
Hardpoint compromised. Secure the area.
Setting Claymore. Whoa, another fire!
Secure the area. Target area updated. Move to the hardpoint.
Again.
Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy UAV active.
Here we go. Taking fire.
Enemy overwatch helo inbound.
Setting Claymore.
Inside the perimeter.
Changing max.
I turned around, that guy in that evil clown thing was staring away at me.
God.
It scared me. It's like ah.
Oh my God.
He's not
I'm gonna
expecting
take a look
that.
at this guy. It's a evil clown.
That guy's terrifying.
Yeah, that's quite the skin.
Friendly UAV online. Hardpoint relocated. Secure
Ooh,
the
too
target
late.
area.
I'll pull this one out.
We didn't even bother to come to that point, it seemed like.
Hardpoint covered. Secure the area.
Setting Claymore. Ammo here. Switching mags. Setting Claymore. Setting Claymore.
Just please, one person, slip over my claymore, please.
Hardpoint compromised. Secure the area. Confirming next
Just take a
hardpoint.
wrong
Stand
step.
by. Enemies
Hit! Changing max.
halfway to mission complete. Finish it.
Setting Claymore.
Target area updated.
Setting Claymore.
Oh, yeah, sensor turner on the point.
Setting Claymore.
There we go. Come on. I think I got him.
Yeah?
Yes, I did.
Noosh.
And it is done.
Very nice.
Taking fire.
Hardpoint relocated. Stand by. Secure the area.
The sensor turn's really keeping it off.
Enemies inside the perimeter. Hardpoint relocated. Secure the target area.
Setting Claymore.
Got your six.
Ammo here. Setting Claymore.
The 2 claymore set. This entrance over here.
I heard you. I heard you. Setting Claymore. Setting Claymore. I'll try not to shoot anything coming at.
Come on, Claymore, get him.
Trying to lure him.
That's alright. It's fucking impossible.
They're staying away.
Fresh mag.
Come on.
Confirming next hardpoint.
Son of a-
Standing by. Perimeter. Target area updated. Move to the hardpoint.
I need medical. Changing max.
Enemies inside the perimeter. I'm with you.
I've been hurt worse.
Secure the hardpoint relocating. Stand by.
Setting Claymore.
They're overwhelmed. Keep it this way.
Overwhelmed.
Secure the target area.
What? Oh, they got a chopper up there.
Time is half over. Friendly mosquito active.
Too little, too late.
Hostile remote turret is active.
Setting Claymore. Switching max.
Confirming next hardpoint. Stand by.
Ammo here.
Target area updated. Move to the
Alright.
The mission is complete. Good work.
Our clown pal was #1. Odd Tommy.
Odd Tammy.
Oh, Tammy. Yeah, Tammy. Odd Tammy. Odd Tommy. Ooh, nice fill there.
Yeah, nice
graphic.
Awesome. Oh, god damn it. So you're gonna be pretty much gone tomorrow, right? No gaming tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, there's a chance if I'm up for it in the morning, I'll look for you.
Oh, please do. I'll be up. I'm always playing.
All right.
That's my favorite time. So, but hit me up. But if not, no worries. I'm gonna be on. I have no plans this fucking weekend, dude. I'll be playing Saturday through Sunday. Just anytime you want to play, hit me up.
Okay. Cool, man.
Hell yeah.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night. Talk to you soon.